They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but what happens when you're willing to burn the whole world down to get it? Tonight, a quiet waitress will make a choice that shatters everything, spill a drink on the most dangerous man in Los Angeles, and when he offers her mercy, she'll choose violence instead. In 60 seconds, Naomi Carter will stop being invisible and become the one thing this underground empire fears most: a woman with nothing left to lose. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this tale travels. The crystal chandeliers hanging from the vaulted ceiling of Club Obsidian cast fractured light across marble floors so polished they reflected like black mirrors. Each table cost more to reserve than most people earned in a month. The whiskey being poured cost more than a car. The secrets being traded in hushed Korean and English were worth lives. Naomi Carter moved through this world like a ghost. Her black uniform was perfectly pressed, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun that revealed nothing of the fire burning behind her calm brown eyes. She carried a tray of champagne flutes with the mechanical precision of someone who had learned to make herself small, forgettable, invisible. That was the plan, after all. For 6 months, she'd been the perfect employee. Never late, never complained, never asked questions. The other waitresses thought she was shy. The managers thought she was reliable. The security team barely registered her existence, exactly as she wanted it. "Table 7 needs a refresh," barked Marcus, the floor manager, his voice cutting through the ambient jazz. "VIP section, don't fuck it up." Naomi nodded without expression and loaded her tray with bottles that cost more than her monthly rent. She moved through this crowd with practiced ease, weaving between tables where men in $10,000 suits discussed territories and shipments, where women dripping in diamonds laughed at jokes that weren't funny. Table 7 sat elevated on a platform overlooking the main floor, a throne disguised as a dining area. And on that throne sat Jae-min Ryu. Even seated, his presence dominated the space. Mid-30s, devastatingly handsome in a way that felt dangerous. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing. Black hair swept back to reveal a face that could have belonged to a film star if it weren't for the coldness in his expression. His suit was custom-tailored, midnight blue, so dark it appeared black except when the light caught it just right. He sat with the stillness of a predator at rest. Around him, his inner circle spoke in low tones. To his right sat Victor Hale, his chief advisor, American, late 40s, silver at his temples. The kind of polished ruthlessness that came from Ivy League schools and decades of getting away with murder. Literally. To Jae-min's left was his enforcer, a mountain of a man named Tae-sung, whose scarred knuckles told the story of countless fights. Across from them sat 2 younger members of the organization, eager and anxious in equal measure. Naomi approached with her eyes down, her heart hammering against her ribs. 6 months of planning, 6 months of waiting. Tonight, it ends. "Your champagne, sir," she said softly, setting glasses down with expert precision. Jamin didn't look at her. He never did. She was furniture to him, background noise, utterly beneath his notice. Victor was mid-sentence discussing shipping routes through Long Beach when Naomi reached for the champagne bottle. Her hand, steady for 6 months, began to tremble. Not yet. Not yet. She poured for Victor first, then moved around the table. Taesung's glass. The 2 younger men. And finally, she approached Jae-min Ryu himself. Their eyes met for the first time. In that fraction of a second, something passed between them, a flicker of recognition, though they'd never spoken. His eyes were darker up close, intelligent and cold as winter ice. Naomi tilted the bottle, and then she let it slip. The champagne, a 1996 Dom Perignon, worth $3,000, cascaded across the table in a golden wave. It soaked the documents Victor had been reviewing. It splashed across the white tablecloth, and it poured directly into Jae-min Ryu's lap, drenching his custom suit. The music seemed to stop, though it didn't. Every conversation within 20 feet died instantly. Jae-min looked down at his ruined suit, then slowly, so slowly it felt like a threat, raised his eyes to Naomi. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. I'm so sorry, sir," Naomi stammered, grabbing napkins with shaking hands. "I don't know what happened. Don't." His voice was quiet, barely above a whisper, but it cut like a blade. "Touch. Me." Naomi froze, napkins clutched in her fists. Tae-sung was already standing, his massive frame blocking out the light. Around them, security was closing in. At nearby tables, people were very deliberately looking away, wanting no part of whatever was about to happen. Victor leaned back in his chair with a thin smile. Clumsy. That's unfortunate. Jae-min stood slowly, champagne dripping from his jacket. He was taller than she'd expected, and he moved with the controlled grace of someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was. What's your name? He asked. Naomi, sir. Naomi Carter. Her voice was steady now, the trembling gone. I'm so sorry. Please let me... How long have you worked here, Naomi Carter? 6 months, sir. 6 months. He brushed champagne from his sleeve with deliberate slowness. And in 6 months, you've never made a mistake. Marcus tells me you're his most reliable server. Never late, never sick, never a single complaint. Naomi said nothing. So either you've suddenly become incredibly careless, Jaemin stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers, or this wasn't an accident. The air was so thick with tension, it felt hard to breathe. I'm going to give you a choice, Jaemin continued, his voice soft and terrible. And I want you to think very carefully before you answer. He gestured to the floor in front of him. You can kneel right here, in front of everyone, and apologize properly, forehead to the ground. And then you'll be fired, and we'll forget this happened. Naomi's jaw clenched. Or, Jaemin tilted his head slightly, you can accept responsibility for disrespecting me in my own establishment. Tae-sung here has been undefeated in our arena for 3 years, 72 fights, 72 victories. Many of his opponents required hospitalization. Tae-sung cracked his knuckles, the sound like breaking bones. You can fight him, Jaemin finished. 3 rounds. If you survive, I'll consider your debt paid. Someone at a nearby table sucked in a breath. Victor chuckled. Jaemin, she's a waitress. This is excessive even for you. But Jaemin's eyes never left Naomi's face. He was studying her, searching for something. He knows, she realized. He knows this wasn't an accident, and he wants to see what I'll do. Every instinct screamed at her to kneel, to apologize, to run. She'd blown it. 6 months of planning destroyed by her own impatience. She should take the mercy he was offering and disappear before... But then she thought of Marcus, her brother Marcus. 23 years old, built like a linebacker, smile that could light up a room. Marcus, who'd gotten mixed up with the wrong people. Marcus, who'd ended up in prison on charges that never quite made sense. Marcus, who'd been found dead in his cell 3 months into his sentence, officially a suicide, though he had bruises that told a different story. Marcus, whose last letter to her had 3 words that changed everything. They're watching everything. She'd spent a year tracking the connections, the dirty cops, the bought judges, the evidence that disappeared. Every thread led back here, to this club, to this organization, to the men sitting at this table. Especially to Victor Hale, who smiled at her now like she was already broken. Naomi looked at the floor where Jaemin expected her to kneel. Then she looked him dead in the eye. I'll fight. The words came out clear and cold. Jaemin's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Interest? She couldn't tell. You're sure? He asked. Tae-sung doesn't hold back. He doesn't show mercy. I've seen him break men twice your size. I'm sure. Victor laughed outright now. This is absurd. Jaemin, just fire the girl and... No. Jaemin raised a hand, silencing him. She made her choice. He turned to Tae-sung. Take her downstairs. Prepare the arena. Wait, Naomi said. One condition. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. You didn't make demands of Jaemin Ryu. A condition? His voice was dangerously soft. You spill champagne on me, refuse to apologize, and now you're negotiating? If I win, Naomi continued, her heart pounding but her voice steady, I want answers. There was a prisoner who died 3 months ago, Marcus Carter. Officially ruled a suicide. I want to know who ordered it and why. The silence that followed was deafening. Victor's smile vanished. Tae-sung's hand moved toward his jacket, toward a weapon. Around them, security tensed. Jaemin stared at her for a long moment. So that's what this is about. He nodded slowly. You're not just clumsy, you're suicidal. Do we have a deal or not? You won't win, Jamin said flatly, but I admire the audacity. He glanced at Victor. We'll discuss Marcus Carter later. Back to Naomi. If, and this is a very large if, you somehow survive 3 rounds with Tae-sung, we'll talk. But I promise you by the end of round 1, you'll be begging me to let you kneel instead. Then I guess we'll see. Jamin gestured to Tae-sung. Take her down. I want everyone to witness this. The arena wasn't what Naomi expected. She'd imagined something crude. A basement with a dirt floor, maybe, or a warehouse with a chain-link cage. Instead, Tae-sung led her through a hidden door behind the kitchen, down a marble staircase, and into something that looked like a Roman Colosseum reimagined by a billionaire. The fighting space was octagonal, about 30 feet across, with a rubberized floor designed to absorb blood. The walls were soundproofed black panels. But surrounding the arena were 3 tiers of leather seating that could hold maybe 200 people. Tonight, word had spread fast. The seats were filling rapidly. Club patrons who'd paid thousands for dinner were now paying more to watch a waitress get destroyed. They held drinks and phones, settling in for entertainment. A woman in a red dress that cost more than Naomi's car leaned over to her companion. I give her 30 seconds. That's generous, he replied. Naomi was led to a small preparation room off the arena. A man who introduced himself as the house medic, because of course they had one, checked her vital signs with professional detachment. You can still back out, he said, shining a light in her eyes. No shame in it. Tae-sung's put people in comas. I'm not backing out, he sighed. Your funeral, arms up. He patched her quickly, checking for weapons or wires. Finding nothing, he handed her a mouthguard and pointed to a locker. Your uniform's going to get ruined. There's athletic wear in there. Change fast. You're on in 5 minutes. Naomi stripped off her waitress uniform with shaking hands. Underneath, her body told the story she'd kept hidden for 6 months. Lean muscle, old scars on her knuckles, the physique of someone who'd spent years in gyms and rings. She pulled on black compression shorts and a sports bra, then stood before the mirror. Marcus, if you can hear me, I'm doing this for you. I'm going to find out who killed you, and I'm going to make them pay. The door opened. A young Korean man poked his head in. You're up. Follow me. The roar of the crowd hit her like a physical wave as she stepped into the arena. 200 people, maybe more now, all of them screaming. Some were chanting Tae-sung's name, others were making bets on how quickly she'd fall. Across the octagon, Tae-sung entered to a hero's welcome. He'd stripped down to fight shorts, revealing a body that looked carved from granite. Scars crisscrossed his torso, knife wounds, burns, the roadmap of a violent life. He rolled his massive shoulders and cracked his neck, eyes locked on Naomi with the cold assessment of a butcher sizing up meat. In the VIP section, directly overlooking the arena, Jae-min Ryu sat in a throne-like chair. He'd changed suits, midnight black now, immaculate. Victor sat beside him, along with several other high-ranking members of the organization. Jamin raised a hand, and the crowd quieted. The rules are simple, his voice boomed through hidden speakers. 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 1 minute rest between rounds. No weapons, no outside interference. Fight continues until knockout, submission, or I call it. He looked directly at Naomi. Last chance to kneel. Naomi stepped to the center of the octagon. Tae-sung lumbered toward her, and the size difference was even more pronounced up close. He had at least 8 inches and 100 pounds on her. The referee, a wiry man in a black shirt, gestured them to touch gloves. Tae-sung didn't raise his hands. Instead, he spoke in Korean, then smiled when he saw she didn't understand. The translator in the corner called out, He says he'll try to make it quick. Tell him thank you, Naomi replied. I'll try to do the same. The bell rang. Tae-sung came forward like a freight train. No technique, just overwhelming force. His first punch would have taken her head off if it connected. A haymaker with all his weight behind it. Naomi slipped it by centimeters. The crowd gasped. She didn't counter, didn't engage. She moved backward, circling, letting him come to her. Tae-sung swung again, a massive overhand right. Naomi ducked under it, and his fist hit nothing but air. Stand still, someone screamed from the crowd. But Naomi kept moving, kept circling. She was studying him, the way he transferred weight, the slight hesitation before he committed to power shots, the way he dropped his left hand when he threw his right. Taesung growled in frustration and charged. He threw a combination, jab, cross, hook, but they were all muscle, no precision. Naomi weaved through them like smoke, her feet dancing on the mat. 45 seconds in, and he hadn't touched her. "What is she doing?" Victor muttered from the VIP section. Jaemin leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "She's reading him." Taesung's frustration turned to rage. He roared and threw a massive uppercut that would have lifted Naomi off her feet. She twisted sideways and his fist whistled past her ear. And then, for the first time, she countered. A straight right hand perfectly placed, snapping Taesung's head back. It wasn't a power shot. She didn't have the mass for that. But it was fast, precise, and it landed clean. Taesung stumbled back, more from surprise than damage. The crowd went silent. Naomi had hit him. A waitress had just hit the undefeated enforcer. Taesung's eyes changed. The cold calculation of the butcher was gone, replaced by genuine anger. He charged again, wild and reckless, throwing punches and combinations meant to overwhelm through sheer volume. But Naomi was already gone, circling out, making him chase her. She snapped another jab, pop, right on the nose. Then another. Then a quick 1-2 that landed clean. Taesung's nose started bleeding. "Impossible," someone breathed. The bell rang, ending round 1. Naomi walked to her corner, breathing hard but controlled. The medic who'd checked her earlier appeared with water and a stool. "Where the hell did you learn to move like that?" he asked. Naomi just stared across the octagon. Taesung was in his corner, his trainers barking at him in Korean. He kept shaking his head, blood dripping from his nose. In the VIP section, Victor was leaning toward Jaemin. "She's trained. That's not a waitress. That's a fighter." "I can see that," Jaemin replied, his voice thoughtful. "The question is, what else has she been lying about?" The bell for round 2 rang. This time, Taesung approached differently. He'd abandoned the wild swings in favor of controlled aggression. He cut off the ring, herding Naomi toward the walls, taking away her space to move. Naomi tried to circle out, but Taesung stepped with her, closing the distance. She threw a jab to keep him back, but he walked through it. Another jab. He slipped it, and then his hand shot out like a striking snake, catching her flush on the temple. The world tilted. Naomi's legs wobbled, and the crowd roared. Taesung pressed forward, sensing blood. He threw a devastating combination, body, head. The first 2 landed hard, driving the air from Naomi's lungs. She barely slipped the headshot. He kept coming. A brutal hook to the ribs made her gasp. A straight right caught her high on the forehead. Naomi's back hit the wall. Taesung grinned and threw everything he had, a murderous right hand aimed at her jaw. At the last possible second, Naomi dropped to a crouch. His fist crashed into the padded wall, and she heard something crack. Maybe the padding, maybe his knuckles. Taesung howled in pain. Naomi exploded upward, driving her shoulder into his solar plexus. As he doubled over, she brought her knee up and into his face. Blood sprayed. The crowd was on its feet now, screaming. Taesung staggered backward, both hands to his shattered nose. Naomi didn't give him space to recover. She moved forward, throwing combinations she'd practiced 10,000 times in gyms she could barely afford. Jab, cross. Jab, cross, hook. Each one landed clean. Taesung swung back wildly, but he was fighting blind now, eyes watering from his broken nose. Naomi slipped his punch and countered with a perfect left hook that snapped his head sideways. He dropped to one knee. The referee stepped in, counting. 1, 2, 3. Taesung pushed himself up, blood streaming down his face. He looked across at Naomi, and for the first time there was no confidence in his eyes. There was doubt. The bell rang. Round 2 was over. Naomi walked to her corner on shaking legs. The adrenaline was wearing off, and she could feel every place Taesung had hit her, her ribs, her side, her head. The medic pressed an ice pack to her temple. "You broke his nose. You actually broke his fucking nose." "Is that good?" Naomi asked, her voice hoarse. "Taesung hasn't bled in 18 months. So yeah, I'd say that's good." Across the arena, Taesung's corner was chaos. They were trying to set his nose, but he kept pushing them away. His eyes locked on Naomi with pure hatred. In the VIP section, Jamin was leaning forward in his chair, elbows on his knees, utterly focused. "Who is she?" Victor asked again. "I don't know," Jamin replied, "but I'm going to find out." The bell for round 3 rang. Both fighters moved to the center slowly this time. They were both exhausted, both hurt, both bleeding. Taesung's face was a mask of blood. Naomi's left eye was swelling shut. They circled each other like wounded animals. Taesung threw a tired jab. Naomi slipped it. She countered with her own jab, but it was slow, telegraphed. Taesung blocked it easily. They were both running on empty. "Finish her!" someone screamed from the crowd. Taesung roared and charged one last time. He threw everything he had left, a massive overhand right with all his body weight behind it. Naomi saw it coming. She'd been waiting for it. At the last possible moment, she stepped inside his range, too close for the punch to land with full force. His arm crashed against her shoulder instead of her head. And then she drove her right hand upward in a perfect uppercut, every ounce of her strength behind it. It caught Taesung on the point of his chin. His eyes rolled back, his knees buckled, and the undefeated enforcer crashed to the mat like a felled tree. The referee dove in, checking him, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Taesung didn't move. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The referee waved his arms, signaling the end. For a moment there was absolute silence. Then the arena erupted. People were screaming, throwing drinks, jumping on chairs. Money was changing hands in furious arguments. Grown men were shouting in disbelief. Naomi stood in the center of the octagon, swaying slightly, barely able to process what had just happened. She'd won. The medic rushed in, trying to check her injuries, but she pushed him away. She looked up at the VIP section, directly at Jae-min Ryu. He was standing now, his expression unreadable. Slowly, he began to clap. One person clapping in a room of chaos. Then others joined him, first his inner circle, then the crowd, until the entire arena was applauding. Not because they'd wanted her to win, not because they'd bet on her, but because they'd just witnessed something impossible. A waitress had just knocked out the undefeated champion. Jae-min gestured and security parted. He descended from the VIP section and walked across the arena floor, stopping just outside the octagon. "Come with me," he said. It wasn't a request. They walked in silence through corridors Naomi had never seen, deeper into the building, past more security, through doors that required biometric scanners. Finally, Jae-min led her into an office that looked like something from a different era. Dark wood, leather furniture, walls lined with books in Korean and English. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed her one. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a leather chair. Naomi sat, every muscle in her body screaming. Her hands were shaking from adrenaline crash. Jae-min settled behind his desk, studying her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. "Naomi Carter," he said finally, 6 months you worked in my club. 6 months you made yourself invisible. And then tonight, you throw champagne on me and proceed to knock out my best fighter." He sipped his whiskey. "So let's skip the part where you pretend to be a simple waitress. Who are you really?" Naomi met his gaze. She had nothing left to lose. "My real name is Naomi Carter. My brother was Marcus Carter. He died in prison 3 months ago. The official report says suicide, but I know it was murder." "And you think I had something to do with it?" "I think someone in your organization did. Marcus was arrested on weapons charges that made no sense. The evidence was planted, the judge was bought, and 2 weeks after he went to prison, he was dead." Jaemin's expression didn't change. "That's a serious accusation." "It's the truth. Marcus's last letter to me said they were watching him, that he'd seen something he shouldn't have. He never got to tell me what." "And you thought spilling champagne on me would somehow lead to answers?" "I thought it would get me into a room with you. Turns out I was right." Jae-min laughed, a genuine sound of surprise. "You're either brilliantly brave or incredibly stupid. I'm not sure which. Maybe both." He stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city lights. "Marcus Carter. I remember the name. He was low level, arrested trying to move guns, but you're right about one thing. The charges appeared very quickly, and the evidence was convenient." Naomi's heart raced. "So you admit it was a setup?" "I'm saying the timing was suspicious. But Naomi, I don't order every arrest in Los Angeles. I have people who handle those things, People who sometimes exceed their authority. Like Victor Hale? Jamin turned sharply. What makes you say that? Because every thread I followed led to him. Every dirty cop, every bought judge, every piece of evidence that disappeared. Somewhere in the chain, Victor's name appeared. Victor is my most trusted advisor. Victor is a snake. The words hung in the air between them. Jamin returned to his desk, his expression unreadable. You fought well tonight, better than well. Where did you learn? My father was a boxing coach. He taught Marcus and me from the time we could walk. Marcus was the natural, could have gone pro if he hadn't... She stopped, her voice catching. If he hadn't what? If he hadn't tried to protect me. Our father got involved with some bad people, owed money he couldn't pay. Marcus tried to fix it, and that's how he ended up in your world. Jamin nodded slowly. The sins of the father. Something like that. He poured himself another whiskey. I'm going to tell you something, Naomi, and I want you to listen carefully. This organization has existed for 3 generations. My grandfather built it. My father expanded it. And my mother... He paused. My mother runs it from the shadows, through people like Victor. So you're just a figurehead? His eyes flashed. I'm the face. She's the power. For now. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked for answers about your brother, and I'm giving them to you. Marcus Carter was killed on orders from someone in this organization, but not by me. I looked into it when it happened because the timing was sloppy, the method was obvious, and it drew attention we didn't need. Naomi leaned forward. Who ordered it? I don't know, but I have suspicions, and if you're right about Victor... He trailed off, thinking. Help me find out, Naomi said. You want to know who's operating in your organization without your approval. I want to know who killed my brother. We can help each other. Why would I trust you? You infiltrated my club under false pretenses. Why would I trust you? You're the head of a criminal organization. Jamin smiled, a real smile this time, almost admiring. Fair point. He stood, extending his hand across the desk. Here's my offer. You work for me. Really work for me. Not as a spy. I'll give you access to resources, information, protection. In exchange, you help me find out who ordered your brother's death and why. When we have proof, we deal with them together. And if it leads back to you, then you can try to kill me yourself. Though I should warn you, I'm considerably better in a fight than Tae-sung. Naomi looked at his extended hand. Every instinct told her this was a trap, that she should run, disappear, find another way. But she thought of Marcus, of his last letter, of the truth that had been stolen from her. She stood and shook Jae-min's hand. Partners, she said. Partners, he agreed. But Naomi? Don't ever lie to me again. I admire what you did tonight, the courage, the skill, the audacity. But if I find out you're playing me, what happened in that arena will seem merciful compared to what comes next. Understood. Good. Now get some rest. Tomorrow we start looking for answers, and Naomi? He smiled. Welcome to the real club Obsidian, the one beneath the surface. I have a feeling you're going to fit right in. As Naomi left his office, escorted by security to a guest room in the building's upper floors, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just made a deal with the devil. But if the devil could lead her to her brother's killer, then she'd burn in hell herself to see justice done. Behind her, in his office, Jae-min Ryu stood at the window, phone to his ear. I need a complete background check on Naomi Carter, he said quietly. Everything. Where she's been, who she's talked to, every fight she's ever won or lost. And Victor, I need surveillance on him. Discreet. He can't know. He listened to the response, then added, and find out everything you can about Marcus Carter's death. Someone in my organization ordered a hit without my approval. I want to know who, and I want to know why. He ended the call and looked out at the city. You're either going to help me take back my empire, Naomi Carter, he murmured to the night, or you're going to tear it all down. Either way, things are about to get very interesting. In a guest room 3 floors above, Naomi stood in the shower, letting hot water wash away the blood and sweat. Her entire body ached. Her ribs were definitely bruised, maybe cracked. Her left eye was swollen nearly shut, but she'd won. And more than that, she'd gotten exactly what she came for, access to Jae-min Ryu and his organization. She just hoped she survived long enough to use it. As she dried off and collapsed onto the bed, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Impressive performance tonight. But you should know, the people who killed your brother are watching you now. Be careful who you trust, especially Jae-min Ryu. He's not what he seems. A friend. Naomi stared at the message, her heart racing. Then she deleted it and turned off her phone. She'd come too far to turn back now. Tomorrow, the real work began. Tomorrow she would start hunting the truth, and she wouldn't stop until she found it, or until it killed her. Outside her window, the city lights sparkled like stars. Los Angeles sprawled beneath her, beautiful and deadly, hiding 1,000 secrets in its shadows. Somewhere out there, Marcus's killer was breathing, living, thinking they'd gotten away with it. They were wrong. Naomi Carter was coming for them. And nothing, not Jae-min Ryu, not Victor Hale, not the entire Korean crime syndicate, was going to stand in her way. She'd knelt for no one tonight. She never would again. End of part 1. Naomi woke to the sound of her door opening. Her body moved before her mind caught up, rolling off the bed, landing in a crouch, fists raised. Pain screamed through her ribs, but adrenaline overrode it. A young woman in a crisp black suit stood in the doorway, one hand raised peacefully, the other holding a garment bag. "Easy," she said in accented English. "I'm Min Ji. Mr. Ryu sent me. He wants to see you in 20 minutes. Naomi lowered her hands slowly, her heart still hammering. Morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the Los Angeles skyline in shades of gold. She'd slept maybe 4 hours. "What time is it?" 7:30. There's coffee on the table, clothes in the bag, bathrooms through there. Minji gestured to a door Naomi hadn't noticed last night. "Mr. Ryu doesn't like to wait." She left before Naomi could respond. The coffee was black and strong, exactly what she needed. The clothes were expensive. Designer jeans that fit perfectly, a silk blouse in deep emerald, leather jacket that probably cost more than 3 months of her waitress salary. Someone had done their homework on her sizes. In the bathroom mirror, Naomi assessed the damage. Her left eye was swollen, but not as bad as she'd feared. The bruise on her temple had turned a spectacular purple. Her ribs were wrapped. Someone must have done that while she slept, which was both helpful and deeply unsettling. She dressed quickly, pulled her hair back, and tried to look like someone who belonged in a crime lord's inner circle rather than someone who'd knocked out his enforcer 12 hours ago. Minji returned exactly 20 minutes later and led her through corridors that looked different in daylight. The building was larger than Naomi had realized, a converted warehouse that housed not just the club, but an entire operation. They passed rooms where people spoke in rapid Korean over computers, spaces that looked like legitimate offices, and doors marked with security warnings in 3 languages. Jae-min's office was on the top floor, but Minji led her past it to a private elevator. She inserted a key card, and they descended. "Where are we going?" Naomi asked. "The real office," Minji replied. "The one upstairs is for show." The elevator opened onto a space that took Naomi's breath away. It was part war room, part luxury lounge, carved out of what must have been the building's original foundation. Stone walls, modern technology, a conference table that could seat 20, and screens displaying everything from stock markets to security camera feeds. Jaemin stood at the head of the table, wearing a charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Victor Hale sat to his right, and 3 other men Naomi didn't recognize occupied chairs down the line. "Naomi," Jaemin said. "Good. We're ready to begin." She walked forward, acutely aware of every eye on her. Victor's expression was carefully neutral, but something dangerous flickered behind his polished smile. "Gentlemen," Jaemin continued, "this is Naomi Carter. As of last night, she works directly for me. She'll have full access to our resources and files." One of the men, older, with silver hair and cold eyes, spoke in Korean. Minji, standing by the door, translated quietly for Naomi. "He asks why you would give a waitress such access." "Because she's not a waitress," Jaemin replied in English, forcing the conversation into a language Naomi could follow. "She's a trained fighter who infiltrated our organization for 6 months without being detected. That takes skill, discipline, and intelligence. All things we value." She also assaulted you in front of witnesses, Victor said smoothly. Forgive me, Jamin, but bringing her into our operations seems premature. Your concern is noted, Victor, but my decision stands. Jamin's tone left no room for argument. He turned to Naomi. Last night you asked about your brother. I've had my people pull everything we have on Marcus Carter's case. It makes for interesting reading. He pressed a button, and one of the screens flickered to life. Police reports, court documents, prison records, everything flashed past too quickly to read. Marcus Carter, age 23, arrested 14 months ago attempting to transport weapons across state lines. The arresting officers were LAPD, specifically a special task force led by Detective Raymond Park. Naomi's stomach clenched. She knew that name. Park had been the one to tell her Marcus was dead, his expression sympathetic and utterly fake. The weapons were found in Marcus's vehicle during a routine traffic stop, Jamin continued. Except there was nothing routine about it. The stop occurred at 2:17 a.m. on a Wednesday, on a stretch of highway where traffic cameras mysteriously malfunctioned that night. Convenient, Naomi muttered. Very. The guns were military grade, stolen from a shipment that went missing from Port of Long Beach 6 weeks earlier. A shipment that, according to our records, was never touched by our organization. Victor shifted in his seat. Jamin, you're not suggesting... I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts. Jamin pulled up another document. Marcus was offered a plea deal, 5 years in minimum security if he provided information about his employers. He refused. 2 weeks later, he was found dead in his cell. Autopsy showed bruising consistent with strangulation, but the official cause of death was ruled asphyxiation by hanging, suicide. The older Korean man spoke again. Minji translated. Mr. Kang says this is unfortunate but not unusual. Prison is dangerous. Except Marcus wasn't in general population, Naomi said, her voice hard. He was in protective custody, specifically requested it in his second week, which means someone with serious access got to him. Jamin nodded. Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. 3 days before Marcus died, there was a withdrawal from one of our operational accounts. $50,000, cash. The authorization came from this office. Every head turned to Victor. Are you accusing me of something? Victor asked, his voice dangerously quiet. I'm stating facts, Jamin repeated. The authorization required a secondary approval. Yours. I authorize dozens of transactions weekly. If you're suggesting I personally ordered, I'm suggesting nothing. But Naomi has questions about her brother's death, and as her new employer, I'm helping her find answers. Jamin's eyes were cold. If those answers lead nowhere, fine. But if they lead somewhere uncomfortable, we'll deal with that when we get there. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Mr. Kang said something sharp in Korean, and the other two men nodded agreement. Minji translated, Mr. Kang says you're allowing personal sentiment to cloud judgment. This woman is an outsider. She cannot be trusted. Then it's fortunate I'm in charge, not Mr. Kang, Jamin replied in Korean, making sure everyone understood the insult. He switched back to English. Naomi, you'll work with our intelligence team. Full access to files on Marcus's case, the weapons shipment, and Detective Park. I want to know who ordered the hit and why. And when we find them, Naomi asked, then we'll discuss appropriate consequences. Victor stood abruptly. This is insanity. You're giving an infiltrator access to our most sensitive information based on a sob story about her dead brother? Jamin, your mother is going to... My mother, Jamin said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, is in Seoul. And when she returns, I'll explain my decisions. Until then, I run this organization. Are we clear? The room went silent. Victor's jaw clenched. For a moment, Naomi thought he might actually challenge Jamin directly, but then his expression smoothed into that polished neutrality, and he sat back down. Of course, he said. I apologize for overstepping. Good. Now, we have other business. The Port Authority is making noise about our shipping lanes. Victor, I need you to handle that personally. Take Mr. Kang and his team. Smooth things over, whatever it costs. It was a dismissal, and everyone knew it. Victor gathered his things with precise, controlled movements. As he passed Naomi, he paused. Welcome to the family, he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. I hope you know what you're getting into. After they left, Jamin gestured for Naomi to sit. You understand what just happened? He asked. You just painted a target on my back. I painted a target on both our backs. Victor's been with this organization for 15 years. He has loyalties everywhere. Police, judges, politicians. If he's involved in your brother's death, confronting him won't be simple. Why do it then? Why not just quietly investigate? Jamin poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher. Because I'm tired of quiet. My mother built an empire by hiding in shadows, letting men like Victor do the dirty work while she maintained distance. But shadows breed secrets, and secrets breed betrayal. He handed her a glass. You forced my hand last night by fighting Tae-sung. You showed everyone you're not afraid. Now I'm returning the favor. We investigate openly. Let Victor squirm. Scared people make mistakes. Or they get desperate. That too. He smiled. Which is why you're staying here, in this building, under my protection. Minji will be your assistant and bodyguard. She's former ROK Army, Special Forces. If someone comes for you, they'll have to go through her first. Naomi thought about the mysterious text from last night, about the warning to be careful who she trusted, especially Jamin. Why are you helping me? She asked. Really? Can't just be because I knocked out your enforcer. Jamin was quiet for a moment, studying her. Then he stood and walked to the windows overlooking the operations floor below. My father died when I was 16, he said. Car accident, officially. But I was there. I saw the brake lines had been cut. I saw my mother's face when she got the news. Not surprised, not grieving, just calculating. Naomi's breath caught. She took over the organization that day, turned it into something bigger, more profitable, more ruthless, and she raised me to be her puppet. The perfect heir who smiled for the cameras and did what he was told. He turned to face her. But I'm not a puppet anymore. And when you walked into my club last night, willing to burn everything down for the truth about your brother, I saw something I recognized, someone who refuses to kneel. So this is about your mother? This is about control. Victor answers to her, not me. Half the organization answers to her, and as long as that's true, I'm just a figurehead. He moved closer. But if we can prove Victor ordered an unsanctioned hit, that he's operating outside the organization's interests, I can remove him, and removing him weakens her. You're using me to start a war with your own mother. I'm using you to take back what's mine. The difference is, I'm being honest about it. He extended his hand again. So what do you say, Naomi? Want to help me burn it all down? She looked at his hand, at his face, trying to see past the careful control to whatever truth lay beneath. He was dangerous. Probably as dangerous as Victor, maybe more, but he was also her best chance at finding Marcus's killer. She shook his hand. Let's burn it down. The intelligence office was 3 floors down, a secure room filled with computers, filing cabinets, and 2 analysts who looked barely old enough to drink. They introduced themselves as David and Ji-yoon, and within 5 minutes, Naomi realized they were probably smarter than everyone else in the building combined. Okay, David said, pulling up files on multiple screens. Marcus Carter, let's start with the arrest. For the next 3 hours, they went through everything. Traffic camera footage from nearby intersections showing Marcus's route that night. Cell phone records placing him miles from where he was arrested 30 minutes before the stop. Witness statements that didn't quite match. Financial records showing Marcus had barely enough money to pay rent, let alone purchase military-grade weapons. He was set up, Ji-yoon said flatly. Question is, by who and why? The weapons, Naomi said. Jamin said they were from a shipment stolen from Port of Long Beach. Who actually took them? David pulled up another file. That's where it gets interesting. The theft was blamed on a gang called the South Bay Scorpions. Small-time players, mostly dealing drugs and running protection rackets. Not exactly weapons traffickers. So someone stole military weapons and blamed it on a gang that couldn't use them? And then planted them on your brother, Ji-yoon finished. It's misdirection, classic intelligence operation stuff. Make it look like gang violence so nobody looks deeper. Naomi's mind raced. Marcus's letter said he saw something he shouldn't have. What if he witnessed the actual theft? Then whoever did it would need to silence him, David said. But carefully. A dead witness looks suspicious. A convicted criminal who commits suicide in prison? That's just tragedy. Ji-yoon was already typing. Let me pull security footage from the port for the week of the theft. You can access Port Authority cameras? Naomi asked. David grinned. We can access a lot of things. The footage appeared on screen, grainy, black and white, showing shipping containers and forklifts. Ji-yoon fast-forwarded through hours of nothing, then froze. There. A truck appeared, backing up to a specific container. 3 men got out, moving with military precision. They cut the lock, loaded crates into the truck, and were gone in under 12 minutes. Can you get their faces? Naomi asked. Ji-yoon zoomed and enhanced. The image pixelated, then sharpened. 2 of the men were visible. Both white, both fit, both moving like trained soldiers. Run facial recognition, David said. The computer churned for 30 seconds, then pinged. Got a match on one. James Vickers, former Marine Force Recon, dishonorably discharged 3 years ago for assault. Last known employment, private security. For who? That's not in the database, but David pulled up another screen. His bank records show regular deposits from a shell company called Pacific Rim Securities, and Pacific Rim is owned by Hale Consulting Group, Ji-yoon finished, which is Victor's legitimate business front. Naomi's heart was pounding. Victor hired the thieves. He stole his own organization's weapons shipment. Or someone else's shipment using his resources, David corrected. These containers were registered to a pharmaceutical company, not the syndicate. Why would Victor steal pharmaceuticals? Let me check the manifest. Ji-yoon pulled up shipping documents. Her eyes widened. Oh, shit. These weren't pharmaceuticals. The manifest was fake. According to Port Authority's internal system, which is supposedly secure but really isn't, this container was flagged by customs but cleared by an inspector named Robert Chen. Let me guess, Naomi said. Chen's on Victor's payroll. Chen's dead, David said, pulling up an obituary. Car accident. 2 weeks after the theft. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture that made Naomi sick. Victor stole something valuable enough to kill for. Marcus witnessed it or figured it out, so Victor framed him, had him arrested, and when Marcus wouldn't take the plea deal, he had him killed in prison before he could talk, Ji-yoon finished. Naomi stood, pacing. We need proof. Something that connects Victor directly to the order. The $50,000 withdrawal, David said. That's the payment. If we can trace where it went... Cash withdrawals are untraceable, Ji-yoon interrupted. That's the point. But she pulled up banking records. The authorization required 2 signatures. Victor's and... What? The second signature is illegible, but the system logged it as coming from an IP address registered to this building, specifically from the VIP office upstairs. Who has access to that office? Naomi asked. David and Ji-yoon exchanged glances. Only 3 people, David said quietly. Victor, Jaemin, and his mother. The implications hung in the air. Naomi's phone buzzed, a text from Minji. Mr. Ryu needs you. Conference room, now. When Naomi entered the conference room, Jaemin was standing at the window, his back to her. His posture was rigid, controlled fury barely contained. We have a problem, he said without turning. What kind of problem? Tae-sung is missing. He left the medical ward sometime around 3 a.m. No one's seen him since. Naomi's stomach dropped. You think he ran? I think he's embarrassed and angry. A man like Tae-sung doesn't lose fights. When he does, he needs to prove himself. Now Jaemin turned and his expression was grim. There's something else. Victor left for the Port Authority meeting 3 hours ago. He never arrived. His phone's off. His security team can't locate him. He's running. Or he's preparing. My contacts in the LAPD just informed me that Detective Park has been asking questions about you, specifically about your connection to Marcus Carter and why you're suddenly working for me. Naomi felt the walls closing in. Victor's making his move. Appears so. Which means we need to move faster. Jaemin walked to the table and spread out a series of documents. I had David and Ji-yoon send me their findings. It's good work, but it's not proof. It's circumstantial. We need something concrete, something that directly ties Victor to the order. The second signature on the withdrawal authorization, Naomi said. If we can prove who actually signed it, it was my mother. Jamin's voice was flat. I had the handwriting analyzed. The signature is hers. Naomi went cold. Your mother authorized the payment to kill my brother? My mother authorized a withdrawal. We don't know what it was for, but Victor processed it, and shortly after, Marcus died. He looked at her, which means either my mother ordered the hit and Victor carried it out, or Victor forged her signature to cover his tracks. You think he'd forge her signature? I think Victor is smart enough to create leverage against the person he's supposedly loyal to. If things go wrong, he can claim he was following her orders. If they don't, the signature authorization protects him. Naomi's mind was racing. Where's your mother now? Seoul, she returns in 3 days. Jamin's jaw clenched. Which gives us 3 days to find proof before this situation explodes. A commotion outside made them both turn. Minji burst through the door, her professional composure cracked. Sir, we have a situation. Detective Park is here with a warrant. He wants to question Miss Carter about the assault on Tae-sung last night. Assault? Naomi said. It was a sanctioned fight in your arena. Doesn't matter, Jamin said. Park's looking for an excuse to bring you in, separate you from my protection. Once you're in custody... I'm vulnerable, Naomi finished. Victor can get to me. Jamin was already moving. Minji, take Naomi out the east exit. There's a car waiting. David and Ji-yoon are already in it with copies of everything we've found. Where are we going? Naomi asked. Somewhere Victor doesn't know about. A safe house in the hills. You'll continue the investigation from there. What about you? I'll deal with Detective Park. Buy you time. He grabbed her shoulders, his grip firm. Listen to me. Victor's not just running. He's eliminating loose ends. That means anyone who knows about Marcus, about the theft, about the connections. You, David, Ji-yoon, you're all targets now. Then come with us. I can't. If I run, it looks like guilt. I need to stay here, maintain the appearance of control. He released her. But Naomi, when you find the proof, and you will find it, you bring it directly to me. No one else, not the police, not the media. Me. Understood? She nodded. Good. Now go. Minji grabbed Naomi's arm and pulled her toward the door. They moved fast through corridors Naomi was still learning, down service stairs, through a kitchen where staff barely glanced up. Behind them, Naomi heard raised voices. Detective Park's smug tone carrying through the building. I don't care who he is. I have a warrant. Either produce Naomi Carter, or I'll tear this place apart. They burst through an exit into blinding sunlight. A black SUV waited, engine running. David was in the driver's seat, Ji-yoon in the back with a laptop. Minji shoved Naomi into the passenger seat and jumped in behind her. Drive! Now! David floored it, tires squealing as they shot out of the alley. Naomi twisted to look back. The building receded, and with it, any illusion of safety she'd felt. Where exactly are we going? She asked. Laurel Canyon, David said, weaving through traffic. Jamin keeps a house there under a false name. Victor doesn't know about it. You sure? Reasonably sure, Ji-yoon said, not looking up from her laptop. I'm tracking Victor's known associates and resources. So far, no indication he's aware of the property. So far, Naomi repeated. Minji chambered a round in her pistol. If he finds us, he'll have to go through me. They drove in tense silence, climbing into the hills above Los Angeles. The houses grew larger, more isolated, hidden behind gates and walls. Finally, David turned onto a narrow private road that wound through trees to a modern glass and steel structure that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. This is a safe house? Naomi asked. Rich people have nice safe houses, David said, punching a code into the gate. Inside, the house was all open spaces and clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the city sprawling below, but smart glass could be opaqued for privacy. The security system was state-of-the-art. Ji-yoon immediately set up her laptop on the dining table. Okay, we have maybe 48 hours before Victor makes his next move. Let's use them. For the next 6 hours, they worked. David hacked into systems that should have been unhackable. Ji-yoon cross-referenced data that should have been unconnected. Minji monitored security feeds and checked the perimeter every 30 minutes, and Naomi stared at the evidence, trying to see what they were missing. The weapons, she said finally. We know Victor stole them. We know he framed Marcus, but why? Military weapons are valuable, but not $50,000 plus murder valuable. There's something else. The container manifest, Ji-yoon said. It listed pharmaceuticals, but the container was flagged by customs. What if there actually were pharmaceuticals, just not legal ones? David pulled up chemical shipping records. Pharmaceutical companies move precursor chemicals all the time, stuff that's legal on its own but can be combined to make illegal drugs. Fentanyl, Naomi said, her blood running cold. Victor was smuggling fentanyl precursors. In a container masked as weapons, Ji-yoon added. If customs found it, they'd seize the guns and miss the real cargo. And if anyone asks questions, the trail leads to a dead gang and a convicted criminal, David finished. It was brilliant and horrifying. Victor hadn't just killed Marcus to cover up a theft. He'd killed him to protect a massive drug operation that could be worth millions. We need documentation, Naomi said. Something that proves Victor ordered the shipment. I might have something, Ji-yoon said, pulling up encrypted files. These are Victor's personal emails. I've been trying to crack them all day. Got through his first layer of encryption about an hour ago, but there's a second layer that's... Wait. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Got it. Holy shit, I got it. The emails appeared on screen, hundreds of them. Correspondence with suppliers in China, Mexico, Canada, shipping manifests, payment records. And buried in them, one email that made Naomi's heart stop. It was from Victor to someone identified only as M. The subject line was blank. The message was 3 sentences. The Carter problem is contained. Package delivered as discussed. Awaiting confirmation of permanent solution. The date stamp was 2 days before Marcus died. M, Naomi breathed. His mother. Jaemin's mother. We don't know that, Minji said quickly. M could be anyone. But Naomi was already pulling up the withdrawal authorization on her phone, the image David had sent her hours ago. The signature was small, but clear enough to make out the first letter. M. The room went silent. She ordered the hit, Naomi said, her voice hollow. Not Victor. He was following her orders. Or he wants us to think that, David said carefully. This email could be fabricated. The signature could be forged. Victor's smart enough to create a trail that leads to her. Naomi's phone rang. Jaemin. She answered. We found something. So did I. His voice was tight. Taesung's body just washed up in the harbor. 2 bullets to the head, execution style. And Naomi, they found evidence on him. A burner phone with texts planning your murder. The sender ID traces back to an IP in this building. Victor's framing you. He's framing both of us. The police are treating this as a gang execution. Park is pushing for warrants on everyone connected to the club. He paused. But there's something else. My mother's flight was moved up. She lands in 6 hours, not 3 days. Does Victor know? I don't know. But if he does, he's accelerating his timeline, which means an explosion of sound cut him off. Breaking glass. Minji was already moving, weapon drawn, pushing Naomi behind the kitchen counter. We're under attack, she shouted into her phone. Through the shattered window, Naomi saw men in tactical gear rappelling down from the hillside. At least 6 of them, moving with military precision. David grabbed his laptop. Ji-yoon pulled a gun from her bag. Apparently everyone was armed except Naomi. East exit, Minji barked. Move now! They ran. Behind them, the front door exploded inward. Gunfire erupted, bullets chewing through expensive furniture and modern art. Minji returned fire, her shots precise and controlled. One attacker dropped, then another. But there were too many. They burst through the kitchen into a garage where a panic room was hidden behind a false wall. Minji slapped a button, and the wall slid open. Inside, now! David and Ji-yoon dove through. Naomi started to follow, but Minji grabbed her arm. Take this. She pressed her gun into Naomi's hands. And this. A phone. Jaemin's direct line. When you're safe, call him. Tell him Victor's people found us. Tell him... A bullet caught Minji in the shoulder, spinning her around. She screamed and fell. No! Naomi tried to go back for her, but David pulled her into the panic room. We have to seal it! The last thing Naomi saw was Minji on the floor, raising her backup weapon, firing at the attackers flooding into the garage. Then the wall slammed shut, and they were in darkness broken only by emergency lighting. Outside, the gunfire continued for another minute. Then silence. Ji-yoon was crying quietly. David was checking the panic room supplies, water, medical kit, communications equipment. Naomi stared at the gun in her hands, Minji's blood on her fingers. "They're going to kill her," she whispered. "Maybe," David said, his voice shaking. "Or maybe they need her alive to find us. This panic room is soundproof, heatproof, and reinforced. They'd need explosives to breach it." "How long can we stay here?" 72 hours, theoretically, but... His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number appeared on all their screens simultaneously. "I know you're in the panic room. I know you have the emails, and I know you think you're safe. You're not. You have 1 hour to come out and hand over all evidence, or Minji dies. After that, I start hunting everyone you've ever cared about. This is your only warning. V." Naomi looked at David and Ji-yoon. They were analysts, not fighters. They'd never signed up for this, but she had. "How do we get out without them knowing?" she asked. David pulled up building schematics on his phone. "There's an emergency tunnel. Leads to a drainage system that comes out half a mile down the canyon. But if we open it, they'll hear the locks disengaging." "Not if we create a distraction," Ji-yoon said. "The panic room has a gas line for the emergency generator. If we overload it and vent it into the garage, it'll create a fireball," Naomi finished. "In the confusion, we run." "That's insane," David said. "You have a better idea?" He didn't. 20 minutes later, they stood at the tunnel entrance, ready to run. Ji-yoon had rigged the gas line with a timer. They'd have 90 seconds from when it triggered to get clear. "On 3, Naomi said. 1, 2, 3. Ji-yoon hit the switch. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then the entire house shook with an explosion that felt like the end of the world. They ran into darkness, through a tunnel that smelled of earth and decay, stumbling over uneven ground. Behind them, shouts and gunfire echoed. Someone had seen them. The tunnel seemed endless. Naomi's lungs burned, her injured ribs screaming, but she kept running, David and Ji-yoon right behind her. Finally, blessed moonlight appeared ahead. They burst out of a drainage pipe into a ravine, scratched and filthy, but alive. "Car," David gasped, pointing to a road above them. "If we can get to the highway." Headlights appeared. A black sedan, moving fast. For a terrible moment, Naomi thought it was Victor's people. Then the window rolled down, and Jaemin's face appeared. "Get in!" They scrambled up the embankment and threw themselves into the car. Jaemin floored it before the doors were even closed. "Minji?" he asked. "Shot. Maybe dead. I don't know." Naomi's voice broke. "They were waiting for us. They knew exactly where we were." "Of course they did." Jaemin's jaw was tight. "Because I told Victor about the safe house this morning." Everyone went silent. "You what?" Naomi's hand moved toward the gun still tucked in her waistband. "I told Victor about the safe house," Jaemin repeated calmly, "and I told him you'd found evidence against him. And I told him that my mother was coming back early." "Are you insane?" "No, I'm setting a trap." He glanced at her. "The men who attacked you weren't Victor's people. They were mine." Naomi's hand was already on the gun, pulling it free, pressing it against Jaemin's temple before David could even process what was happening. "Stop the car," she said, her voice deadly calm. "Right now." Jaemin didn't flinch, didn't slow down. The city lights blurred past them as he navigated side streets with practiced ease. "If you shoot me, we crash and you all die," he said evenly, "and you'll never know the truth about your brother. Minji took a bullet because of you. Your people shot her. Minji is fine. The bullet was a blank fired from 20 feet away, blood pack in her jacket. She's probably eating takeout right now and laughing about your faces." He glanced at her. "The gun you're holding? Also loaded with blanks. I couldn't risk you actually shooting anyone in a panic." Naomi pulled the trigger. The gun clicked empty. "I removed them while you were in the tunnel," Jaemin continued. "Check the magazine if you don't believe me." She did. Empty. Her hands started shaking, adrenaline and fury mixing into something combustible. "You son of a bitch! You set us up. You put us in that house knowing Victor would come for us." "I put you in that house knowing my people would simulate an attack, yes. I needed Victor to think he'd won. I needed him to believe you were running scared, that you'd found evidence against him, but didn't know what to do with it. Why? David demanded from the back seat. Why put us through that? Because Victor has eyes everywhere. If I just told you it was a setup, you would have acted differently. Your fear had to be real. Your panic had to be genuine. Victor's been monitoring all of us, our phones, our computers, probably our conversations. The only way to sell this was to make it real. Ji-yoon was typing frantically on her laptop. He's not lying. I'm looking at the security footage he just sent me. The attackers were firing over your heads. The explosions were flashbangs and smoke. The blood on Min-ji was from a squib. I could have had a heart attack, Naomi shouted. But you didn't. You ran, you fought, you survived, exactly as I knew you would. Jaemin finally pulled over, parking in an alley behind what looked like an abandoned factory. He turned to face her fully. I'm sorry, truly, but Victor's not just smart. He's paranoid. He's been 3 steps ahead of us this entire time. The only way to beat him is to make him think he's winning. And Min-ji agreed to this? To get shot with a blank? Min-ji is former special forces. She's been in real firefights. This was theater. He pulled out his phone and called a number. After 2 rings, Min-ji's voice came through the speaker. Did she figure it out? Min-ji asked, sounding amused. She put a gun to my head. Good for her. I told you she was smart. Naomi felt like the ground was shifting under her feet. I don't understand. What's the end game here? Jaemin ended the call and pulled up a video on his phone. While you were in the panic room, Victor did exactly what I predicted. Watch. The video showed Victor entering Jaemin's office at the club. He moved directly to the desk, pulled out a device that looked like a sophisticated lockpick, and opened a drawer. Inside was a safe. Victor worked on it for 3 minutes before it clicked open. He removed a ledger, old school, leather-bound, the kind that shouldn't exist in a digital age. What is that? Naomi asked. My mother's insurance policy. Every transaction, every deal, every compromising piece of information she's collected over 30 years. Names, dates, amounts, judges, politicians, police chiefs, everyone she owns. Jaemin's smile was cold. Victor's been looking for it for years. He knew it existed, knew she kept it somewhere, but could never find it. So you let him steal it? I let him steal a fake. A very convincing fake that I had made specifically for this moment. Every name in that ledger is real. Every transaction is documented, but the amounts are inflated, the dates are shifted, and buried in the middle is evidence of a massive fentanyl operation that doesn't actually exist. David leaned forward. You're framing him. I'm giving him enough rope to hang himself. Victor will take this ledger and use it to try to blackmail my mother when she arrives tomorrow. He'll threaten to expose her unless she gives him control of the organization. And when she laughs in his face and tells him that ledger is fake, he'll panic, Naomi finished. He'll make mistakes. He'll run. And when he runs, he'll go to the one place he thinks is safe, the one place where he's been hiding the real evidence of his crimes. Jaemin pulled up a map on his phone. A private storage facility in Long Beach, 3 miles from the port. He's been renting a unit there for 8 years under a shell company. That's where he keeps his real records, his real ledgers, his real insurance policy. How do you know this? Because I've had people watching him for 6 months, ever since the discrepancies in our accounts started showing up. Ever since I began to suspect he wasn't just my mother's loyal advisor, he was building his own empire inside ours. Ji-yoon was already pulling up property records. The storage facility is called Secure Vault Long Beach. High security, climate-controlled, used by rich people to store art and wine, and apparently criminal evidence. Victor has Unit 47 on the 3rd floor, Jaemin said, and in approximately 6 hours, when my mother's plane lands and she summons him to explain why he has her ledger, he's going to realize he's been played. He'll go straight to that storage unit to get his real evidence. And we're going to be waiting. Naomi processed this, her mind racing. You're using your own mother as bait. My mother has been using me as a puppet for 20 years. I think she'll survive being useful for once. His expression hardened. Besides, she signed the authorization for the $50,000. Whether she ordered Marcus's death directly or just gave Victor the resources to do it, she's complicit. I want her to know that I know. I want her to see what happens when she underestimates me. This is insane, David said. You're starting a war with your own family. The war started the day my father died, and she took over. I'm just finally fighting back. Jaemin looked at each of them. I need you all to understand something. What we're about to do is dangerous. Victor is desperate now, which makes him unpredictable. If any of you want out, I'll arrange protection, new identities, whatever you need. But if you're in, you're all the way in. No hesitation, no second guessing. I'm in, Naomi said immediately. Victor killed my brother. I want to watch him burn. Ji-yoon nodded. I've come this far. Might as well see it through. David hesitated, then sighed. My parents always said I'd end up in trouble. Guess they were right. Jaemin smiled. Good. Then let's go prepare. We have 6 hours to set up surveillance, position our people, and make sure when Victor runs, we catch everything he does on camera. They drove to another safe house. This one actually secure, according to Jaemin, a penthouse apartment in downtown LA with views of the entire city. Minji was already there, very much alive and unhurt, coordinating with a team of specialists. Took you long enough? She said when they entered. Did she try to kill you? Briefly, Jaemin replied. I would have shot you, Naomi muttered, which is why I gave you an empty gun. The apartment had been converted into a command center. Screens covered one wall, showing feeds from cameras positioned around the storage facility. A dozen people worked at computers, tracking phone signals, monitoring police scanners, coordinating logistics. This is your operation? Naomi asked. This is my real team, Jaemin corrected. The people at the club, the organization, half of them answer to my mother through Victor. But these people, they're mine. Loyal to me, not the family business. A woman in her 40s approached, military bearing evident in her posture. Sir, all teams are in position around the storage facility. We have eyes on every entrance, every camera, every possible exit route. When Victor shows up, we'll know. Good. Any sign of him now? He's at the club, meeting with Mr. Kang and the others. Looks like he's trying to consolidate support before your mother arrives. Let him. The more confident he feels, the harder he'll fall. Naomi walked to the windows, looking out at the city. Somewhere down there, Victor was moving his pieces, thinking he was in control. Somewhere down there, Jaemin's mother was on a plane, unaware that her son was about to upend everything. And somewhere in a storage unit, the truth about Marcus's death was waiting. What happens after we get the evidence? She asked quietly. Jaemin joined her at the window. We expose him. Not to the police, they're too compromised, but to the organization. We show everyone that Victor has been operating independently, stealing from us, killing without authorization, building his own empire. We let them decide his fate. And your mother? My mother survives on respect and fear. When they see she didn't know what Victor was doing under her nose, when they see she signed off on an unauthorized hit, that respect cracks. The fear remains, but it's not enough. Not anymore. He looked at her. I'm not trying to destroy the organization, Naomi. I'm trying to take control of it, to turn it into something that operates on strategy and loyalty, rather than chaos and terror. You're still a criminal. Yes, but I'm a criminal who keeps my word. I promised you answers about Marcus. I'm giving them to you. And after this is done, I promise you Victor will pay for what he did. And your mother? His jaw tightened. That's more complicated. Because she's your mother, or because she's dangerous? Both. Before Naomi could respond, one of the technicians called out, Sir, we have movement. Victor just left the club. He's heading east. Everyone converged on the screens. Sure enough, a tracker showed Victor's Mercedes moving through traffic, heading toward the airport. Is he running? Minji asked. No, Jaemin said, studying the route. He's going to meet my mother's plane. He's going to try to get to her first, probably warn her about the fake ledger, try to spin the narrative before I can. Should we intercept? No, let him talk to her. Let him think he's controlling the situation. Jaemin pulled out his phone and made a call. Mother, yes, I know you're landing soon. I need to warn you about Victor. He's been acting strange, paranoid. I think he might try to approach you with wild accusations. Please, just hear me out before you listen to him. I'll explain everything when you arrive. Yes. I love you too. He ended the call. You just lied to your mother, Naomi said. I just planted doubt. Now when Victor approaches her with the ledger, she'll already be suspicious. She'll think he's unstable, that maybe I've been playing him. It'll make her hesitate long enough for us to make our move. The precision of it was almost beautiful. every piece moving exactly where Jae-min wanted it. "You've been planning this for a long time," Naomi said, "since my 16th birthday when I realized my mother probably killed my father. I just needed the right catalyst to set it in motion." He looked at her. "Thank you for spilling champagne on me. You're welcome, I think." They watched the screens as Victor's car approached the airport. He parked in short-term parking and walked into the terminal, moving quickly but not running. He looked like any other businessman meeting an arriving passenger. Jae-min's mother's plane landed 12 minutes later. Private terminal, of course. Victor waited near the exit, checking his phone obsessively. Then she appeared. Even on the grainy security footage, Jae-min's mother commanded presence. Mid-50s, elegant in a way that money alone couldn't buy, moving with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no in her life. 2 bodyguards flanked her, and an assistant trailed behind with luggage. Victor approached, bowing respectfully. They spoke for maybe 30 seconds. Then he handed her something, a flash drive. "The ledger's on there?" Naomi asked. "Digital copy. Victor's not stupid enough to carry the physical book through an airport." Jae-min leaned closer to the screen. "She's reading it now." His mother's expression didn't change, but her posture shifted subtly. She said something sharp to Victor. He responded, gesturing emphatically. She cut him off with a single hand motion and turned away. "She just dismissed him," Minji said. "She doesn't believe him. The amounts are too large, the dates don't match her memory. She thinks he's either trying to scam her or he's gone insane." Jae-min smiled. "Now watch, Victor's going to panic." True to prediction, Victor pulled out his phone and made a call. His face went through several expressions in quick succession: confusion, anger, and finally fear. "Who's he calling?" David asked. Ji-yoon was already on it. "Tracing the number now. Got it. He's calling the storage facility. Probably checking to make sure his unit is secure." The call lasted 15 seconds. Victor's face went white. "What did they tell him?" Naomi asked. "I had Minji call ahead and tell them there was a security breach in his unit," Jae-min said. "Nothing was stolen, but someone tried to access it. They're reviewing footage." "There was no breach," Naomi said. "Of course not. But Victor doesn't know that. All he knows is that I somehow discovered where he keeps his real evidence, and now he needs to move it before I can get to it." On screen, Victor was already running back to his car. "All teams, he's moving," Jae-min said into a radio. "Everyone in position. I want eyes on him the entire way. And someone stay with my mother. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to." The next 40 minutes were tense. Victor's car wove through traffic at dangerous speeds, running red lights, cutting off other vehicles. He was desperate now, sloppy. "He's going to get pulled over," David said. "No, he's not. I made sure Detective Park and his team are all conveniently busy on the other side of the city tonight." Jae-min's attention never left the screens. Victor's car finally screeched into the parking lot of Secure Vault Long Beach at 11:47 p.m. He practically threw himself out of the vehicle and ran inside. "Cameras inside?" Naomi asked. "We have access to the facility's security system, but Victor's unit specifically has a privacy shield. No cameras inside the unit itself. But we have audio." Ji-yoon adjusted something, and suddenly they could hear Victor's harsh breathing, the sound of a door rolling open, footsteps. "It's still here," Victor muttered to himself. "It's all still here." They didn't get it. The sound of boxes being moved, papers rustling. "Sir," one of the technicians said, "we have a problem. 3 vehicles just entered the parking lot. Black SUVs. No plates." On the external cameras, they watched as men in dark suits emerged from the vehicles, at least 12 of them, moving with military coordination. "Who are they?" Minji demanded. Jae-min's expression darkened. "My mother's personal security team. She must have called them the moment Victor gave her the flash drive." "She's going after Victor herself?" "She's eliminating a threat. If she thinks Victor's either stealing from her or losing his mind, he's a liability either way." Jae-min grabbed his radio. "All teams, pull back. I repeat, pull back. Do not engage with my mother's people." "What about Victor?" Naomi asked. "What about him? He's about to get exactly what he deserves." On screen, the security team entered the building. They moved through the halls with practiced efficiency, clearly knowing exactly where they were going. Inside Victor's unit, the audio picked up his sudden sharp intake of breath. No, No, no. He'd heard them coming. The sound of Victor scrambling, trying to gather his evidence, trying to find an escape route, but there was none. The storage facility had only 2 exits, and both were covered. Jamin, Naomi said urgently, if your mother's people kill him, we lose our evidence. We lose proof of what he did to Marcus. We have his storage unit. Everything he's been hiding is right there. Physical evidence, sure, but we need him alive. We need him to confess, to tell us exactly who ordered what. Jamin hesitated, and in that hesitation, Naomi saw the conflict. He wanted Victor dead, wanted him to pay for everything, the betrayal, the manipulation, probably years of other crimes Naomi didn't even know about. But he also wanted the truth. Minji, he said finally, get your team in there. Extract Victor before my mother's people reach him. Sir, that means going against your mother's direct orders. I'm aware. Do it anyway. Minji was already moving, barking orders into her own radio. On the screens, 4 people in tactical gear emerged from positions around the facility and converged on the building's secondary entrance. The race was on. Jamin's mother's security team reached the 3rd floor first. They moved down the corridor toward Unit 47, weapons drawn. At the same time, Minji's team was coming up the back stairwell. This is going to get messy, David said. Inside Unit 47, Victor had apparently given up on escape and was now barricading the door with storage boxes. Victor Hale, a voice called out from the hallway. It was a woman, cold and professional. Mrs. Ryu requests your presence. Please open the door. Tell her I have everything, Victor shouted back. Every transaction, every name, every secret. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Mrs. Ryu is aware of your insurance policy. She's prepared to discuss terms. But she cannot do that through a storage unit door. I'm not stupid enough to fall for that, Minji's voice came through Jamin's radio. We're in position on the 3rd floor, but sir, if we engage your mother's people, there's no going back from this. Jamin closed his eyes briefly, making a decision that would change everything. Do it. Get Victor out. Use non-lethal force on my mother's team if possible, but get him out. Understood. On screen, Minji's team moved around the corner. They threw flashbangs, the real kind this time. The corridor erupted in blinding light and deafening sound. Jamin's mother's security team was professional enough to recover quickly, but those few seconds were all Minji's people needed. They breached Unit 47 from the side, literally cutting through the thin wall, and grabbed Victor. He screamed and fought, but they zip-tied his hands and dragged him through the hole into the adjacent unit, then out a window onto a fire escape. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Not the blanks from the safe house, real bullets that punched through walls and shattered lights. Casualties? Jamin demanded. None on our side. 2 injuries on your mother's team. Non-fatal leg shots. We're clear of the building with the package. The evidence? We grabbed 3 boxes. Had to leave the rest. Doesn't matter. If there's anything useful, 3 boxes will have it. On screen, Jamin's mother's security team was regrouping, checking the wounded and securing the storage unit. They'd be calling their employer any second now. Jamin's phone rang. His mother's name appeared on screen. He answered on speaker. Mother? What have you done? Her voice was ice. Perfect English, barely accented, each word enunciated like a death sentence. I've taken back what's mine. Victor's been stealing from us, operating independently, making unauthorized hits. I have him now. I have his evidence. And I'm going to make him answer for every crime he's committed in our name. You attacked my security team. Your security team was about to execute a man without trial, without proof. I stopped a murder. That man betrayed us. That man betrayed you, Mother, not us. You. Because you let him operate without oversight. You gave him power without accountability. You created this situation. The silence on the other end was absolute. Where are you? She asked finally. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can't reach. And I'm not coming back until we have a conversation about how this organization is going to be run going forward. You forget yourself. I built this empire. You built it on my father's grave. And you've been using me as a figurehead while Victor and people like him run wild. That ends tonight. Either you accept that I'm taking control, or I burn it all down and we start over." Another pause. When his mother spoke again, her voice had changed, not softer, but calculating. "You've planned this. For years." The girl, the waitress, she was the catalyst. Her name is Naomi, and yes, she helped me see that it was time to stop playing the dutiful son. Bring her to me. And Victor, we'll discuss this face to face. We'll discuss it on my terms. In 3 hours. At the warehouse on Terminal Island. You know the one. Come alone, mother, or don't come at all. He ended the call. The room was silent except for the hum of electronics. "You just declared war on your mother," Naomi said quietly. "Yes, I did." "She's going to kill you. She's going to kill all of us." "Probably, unless we move first." He turned to face everyone. "Here's what's going to happen. We have 3 hours to go through Victor's evidence, find everything we need about Marcus's death and every other crime he's committed. We document it all, make copies, send it to safe locations. Then we go to that warehouse and we face my mother with proof that her most trusted advisor has been compromising the organization." "And if she doesn't care?" David asked. "Then Naomi was right, and she ordered Marcus's death directly. In which case, we have a very different problem." Jamin walked to where Victor's 3 boxes had been placed. He opened the first one. Inside were ledgers, USB drives, file folders stuffed with documents. Victor's entire shadow empire, condensed into cardboard boxes. "Let's find out who really killed your brother," Jamin said to Naomi. They worked through the night. David and Ji-yoon handled the digital files, cracking encrypted drives, and cataloging everything. Minji coordinated security and prepared the warehouse for the meeting. Jamin and Naomi went through the physical documents page by page. At 2:33 a.m., Naomi found it. A single piece of paper buried in a folder marked Special Projects. It was a contract. Clinical, professional, utterly damning. The terms were clear. Eliminate Marcus Carter. Make it look like suicide. Timeline, 2 weeks maximum. Payment, $50,000, authorized by account ending in 7743. The signature at the bottom was Victor's, but the authorization code matched the withdrawal Jamin had shown her, the one with his mother's signature. "She knew," Naomi said, her voice hollow. "She might not have ordered it directly, but she knew. She signed off on the money." Jamin studied the document, his face unreadable. "This is dated 3 days before Marcus died. The authorization was 2 weeks before that, which means Victor came to her with a problem, she gave him resources to solve it, and she didn't ask questions about how. That's not innocence." "No, it's not." Ji-yoon called out from her laptop. "I found video files, security footage from the port on the night of the theft, and there's more. Recordings of phone calls between Victor and someone he refers to as M." They gathered around the laptop. The video showed exactly what they'd suspected. Victor's hired mercenaries stealing the container. But the audio files were something else entirely. Victor's voice. "The Carter boy saw the whole thing. We can't let him talk." A woman's voice, older, authoritative. "How much of a threat is he?" "He's already been asking questions. If he goes to real cops, actual FBI, they'll start looking into the port security. They'll find the gaps. Then eliminate the gaps." "The boy is a gap?" A pause. Then, "Do what needs to be done. Clean, quiet, no blowback on us." The woman's voice was Jamin's mother. Naomi felt something break inside her. All this time, she'd hoped there was an explanation, some misunderstanding, but there was no ambiguity in those words. Marcus had seen something he shouldn't have, and Jamin's mother had ordered him killed as casually as someone might order coffee. She looked at Jamin. His face had gone pale, but his eyes were hard. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Don't apologize for her." "I'm not. I'm apologizing because what I'm about to do might kill us both, and you deserve better than to die for my family's sins." "What are you about to do?" He checked his watch. "We have 40 minutes before the meeting. That's enough time to rig the warehouse with cameras and recording equipment. Everything that's said tonight gets documented. And then I'm going to make my mother confess, on tape, to ordering your brother's death. She'll never confess. She will if she thinks it's the only way to maintain control. I know how she thinks. Her biggest fear isn't exposure, it's losing respect. If I present her with evidence that Victor was operating independently and I stopped him, she'll want credit for my loyalty. She'll want the organization to know she still has power over me. That's a hell of a gamble. It's the only play we have, unless you want to just kill her now and run for the rest of your life. Naomi considered it. Actually considered it. The woman who ordered Marcus's death was going to walk into a warehouse in 40 minutes. It would be easy to shoot her, to end this. But Marcus had believed in justice. Real justice, not revenge. He'd wanted to be a lawyer once before their father's debts changed everything. He'd believed in systems, in fairness, in truth. "We do it your way," Naomi said. "But if she tries to hurt you, I'm putting a bullet in her, and this time I want a gun with real bullets." Jae-min smiled slightly. "Fair enough." He turned to Min-ji. "Load out. Everyone gets real weapons this time. If this goes wrong, I want us able to fight our way out." The warehouse on Terminal Island was exactly what Naomi expected. Cavernous, dark, smelling of salt water and rust. The kind of place where bodies disappeared. Minji's team had set up lighting in the center, creating an arena of sorts. Cameras were hidden in the rafters, behind crates, angles covering every possible approach. Audio equipment disguised as structural elements. If anyone spoke in this warehouse tonight, it would be recorded. Jae-min stood in the center of the light, looking calm. Naomi stood beside him, a pistol, loaded with real bullets this time, tucked into her waistband under her jacket. David and Ji-yoon were in a van outside, monitoring the feeds. Min-ji and her team were positioned in the shadows, invisible but ready. At exactly 5 a.m., headlights appeared. A single black car, luxury sedan, drove into the warehouse. It stopped 30 feet from Jae-min and Naomi. The driver got out first, one of the bodyguards from the airport. He opened the rear door. Jae-min's mother stepped out. In person, she was even more formidable than Naomi had imagined. She wore a black suit that probably cost more than Naomi's car, her hair pulled back in a severe bun, her face showing every one of her 56 years and wearing them like a crown. She looked at her son with an expression that gave away nothing. "Jae-min," she said, her voice carried across the warehouse without her having to raise it. "You've created quite a mess." "I've cleaned up a mess. Your mess. Victor's mess." She walked forward slowly, heels clicking on concrete. "Where is he?" On cue, two of Min-ji's team dragged Victor out from the shadows. He'd been beaten, not severely, but enough to make a point. His expensive suit was torn, his face bruised. When he saw Jaemin's mother, he tried to speak, but one of his guards hit him in the stomach. "Be quiet," Jae-min said. "Adults are talking." His mother stopped 10 feet away, studying the scene. "And who is this?" She looked at Naomi for the first time. "This is Naomi Carter. Her brother was Marcus Carter. You remember Marcus, don't you, Mother? The boy who saw Victor's men stealing from the port?" Something flickered in his mother's eyes. "I remember a young man who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You remember ordering his death. I remember authorizing Victor to handle a security breach. What Victor did with that authorization is on him. We have recordings that say otherwise." His mother's expression didn't change, but her posture shifted infinitesimally. "Recordings can be faked. Not these. Your voice, your words. Do what needs to be done. Clean. Quiet. No blowback on us." Jae-min pulled out a phone and played the audio. His mother's voice filled the warehouse. "Then eliminate the gaps." When it finished, she looked at Victor with pure contempt. "You kept recordings of our conversations? You fool!" "Insurance," Victor gasped. In case I ever held you accountable for your failures." She turned back to Jae-min. "So you have a recording. What do you intend to do with it?" "That depends on you. You can accept that your time running this organization is over and step aside gracefully, letting me take control. Or we can do this the hard way, and I release everything, not just to the organization, but to law enforcement, media, everyone. You'd destroy the family business? I'd rebuild it into something better, something that doesn't murder innocent people to cover up Victor's side operations." His mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You think you're ready to run this empire? You're soft, Jae-min. You always have been. Too much of your father in you. He was weak too, and look where it got him." "You killed him," Jae-min said flatly. The warehouse went silent. "I didn't pull the trigger," his mother replied. "But yes, I arranged the car accident." He was going to confess everything to the FBI. Can you imagine? Your father, who built half this organization, who got his hands bloody alongside mine, suddenly developing a conscience. She shook her head. "I couldn't allow that." Naomi's hand moved toward her gun, but Jamin caught her wrist subtly. "And Marcus Carter?" he asked. "Was his death also just business?" "He was a witness to a federal crime. Victor was stealing weapons to fund his drug operation, which I knew about, incidentally. I just didn't care as long as he was profitable. But when the Carter boy saw the theft, Victor panicked. He wanted to kill the whole family. I told him just the boy, make it clean. Apparently even that was too complicated for him." Victor was shaking his head. "You said you told me to handle it however necessary. You gave me the money. This is on you as much as me." "Nothing is on me," she said coldly. "I never leave evidence. You're the one who kept recordings, who left paper trails. You're the one who's going to take the fall for all of this." She pulled out a gun. It happened so fast that Naomi barely processed it. Jamin's mother raised the weapon and fired twice into Victor's chest. He dropped to the ground, blood spreading across the concrete. "Mother!" Jamin shouted. But she was already turning toward him, the gun now pointed at her son. "I'm sorry, Jamin, I really am, but you're right. You are too much like your father, and I can't allow you to destroy what I've built." Naomi drew her weapon, but Jamin's mother was faster, swinging the gun toward her. Three things happened simultaneously. Minji's team emerged from the shadows, weapons trained on Jamin's mother. The warehouse lights blazed to full brightness, revealing dozens of witnesses hidden in the rafters, behind crates, people from the organization that Jamin had positioned there. And a voice boomed through speakers Naomi hadn't even known were there. "Police, drop your weapon, now!" Detective Park stepped into the light, flanked by a dozen uniformed officers. For the first time, Jamin's mother looked uncertain. "What is this?" she demanded. "It's over," Jamin said quietly. "Everything you just said was recorded. Everything you just did was witnessed by 30 members of our organization and the LAPD. You're done. You betrayed me. Your own mother. You killed my father. You killed Marcus Carter. You were about to kill me." His voice cracked slightly. "I'm not the one who broke this family, Mother. You did that the day you chose power over everything else." She looked at him for a long moment, and for just a second, Naomi saw something like regret in her eyes. But then it hardened again into that familiar coldness. "You'll never hold this organization," she said. "The moment they see you working with police, I'm not working with them. Detective Park is here because I promised him something bigger than our family business. The entire fentanyl network Victor was building. Names, routes, suppliers. Enough to make dozens of arrests and earn him a promotion." Jamin gestured to the boxes of evidence. "He gets his career-making bust. I get control of the organization. Everyone wins." "Except you," his tone implied. Detective Park was already moving forward, handcuffs out. "Mrs. Ryu, you're under arrest for murder, conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering. I want my lawyer." "Of course you do." As they cuffed her and led her away, she looked back at her son one last time. Whatever she saw in his face made her smile slightly. "You learned well," she said. "Perhaps you're ready after all." Then she was gone, loaded into a police car that disappeared into the approaching dawn. Naomi stood in the warehouse trying to process what had just happened. Victor's body was being photographed and covered. Jamin's mother was on her way to a jail cell. The organization's most powerful leaders were scattered around the warehouse, watching Jamin with new eyes. He'd just orchestrated the arrest of his own mother. He'd just taken control of an empire. And Naomi had gotten exactly what she came for, justice for Marcus. So why did it feel so hollow? Jamin walked over to her, his face exhausted. "Are you all right?" "I don't know. I got what I wanted. My brother's killer is dead. The person who ordered it is in custody. But it doesn't feel like I thought it would." "Justice rarely does. We expect it to heal us, but it just closes the wound. The scar remains." "What happens now?" "Now the organization meets. They've all seen what happened here. They know I orchestrated this, that I made a deal with police. Some will see it as betrayal. Others will see it as strength, the ability to sacrifice even family for the good of the business." He looked around at the gathered faces. I'll have to prove myself, probably for years. But for the first time, I'll be doing it on my terms. And me? He looked at her seriously. You can walk away. I'll make sure you're protected, give you enough money to start over anywhere you want. You've earned that. Or you stay. Work with me to build something better than what my mother created. You've proven you're smart, capable, willing to fight. I could use someone like that, someone I can trust. Naomi thought about Marcus, about what he would want her to do. Run or stay and make sure no other families suffered the way theirs had? The answer was obvious. I'll stay, she said. But we're doing this my way too. No more innocent people getting caught in the crossfire. No more Marcus Carters. Jamin extended his hand. Deal. She shook it, and in that moment, a new alliance was forged. Not built on revenge or manipulation, but on mutual respect and shared purpose. The sun was rising over Los Angeles as they left the warehouse, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. A new day, a new beginning. And somewhere in the light, Naomi imagined Marcus was finally resting easy. The handshake was still warm between them when the first bullet shattered the warehouse window. Glass exploded inward, and Jamin tackled Naomi to the ground as concrete chips flew from where her head had been a second before. Minji was already moving, her team spreading out in defensive positions, returning fire toward the roofline across the street. Stay down! Jamin shouted over the chaos. Another 3 shots, precisely placed, took out the overhead lights. The warehouse plunged into darkness broken only by muzzle flashes and the gray light of dawn filtering through broken windows. Southeast corner, Minji called out. 2 shooters, maybe 3. Naomi rolled behind a concrete support pillar, her gun in her hand, heart hammering. This wasn't blanks in theater anymore. Someone was actually trying to kill them. Who the hell is shooting at us? She yelled to Jamin, who'd taken cover behind a forklift 10 feet away. Could be anyone. My mother has people loyal to her who weren't at this meeting. Could be Victor's backup plan. Could be... The shooting stopped as suddenly as it started. In the ringing silence, Minji barked orders to her team. 2 of them moved to secure the perimeter while the others maintained defensive positions. Detective Park and his officers had scattered during the attack, taking cover behind police vehicles. Jamin's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression went dark. It's a message. No number. He read aloud. Your mother sends her regards. She may be in custody, but her reach extends beyond prison walls. You have 24 hours to withdraw your testimony and destroy all evidence, or everyone you care about dies. Starting with the girl. How is she sending messages from jail? Naomi demanded. She's been planning for contingencies her entire life. She probably has phones hidden, guards on payroll, lawyers who'll do anything. Jamin stood slowly, scanning the warehouse. This was a warning shot. Literally. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead. One of Minji's team returned from the perimeter. Shooters are gone. Found brass casings and a burner phone on the roof across the street. Phone has 1 video file. He held it up. On the small screen, Jamin's mother sat in what looked like a holding cell. She was alone, the camera angle suggesting she was holding the phone herself. Hello, my son, she said, her voice calm as if discussing the weather. By now you've received my message. You think you've won, but you've merely opened a new game. One I've been preparing for much longer than you've been alive. I have people in positions you can't imagine. Judges, prosecutors, federal agents. Within 48 hours, I'll walk out of this jail on a technicality, and every piece of evidence you've gathered will be inadmissible. She smiled, and it was the coldest thing Naomi had ever seen. But I'm willing to negotiate. Release me, destroy the evidence, and go back to being my dutiful son. In exchange, I'll allow the girl to live. I'll even let her believe she got justice for her brother. Everyone wins. Her expression hardened. Or refuse, and I'll systematically destroy everyone you've brought into this. Minji, David, Ji-yoon, every person who helped you tonight. And I'll save Naomi for last so you can watch her suffer knowing it's your fault. The video ended. Naomi felt ice in her veins. She's bluffing. She's in custody. She can't... She's not bluffing, Jamin said quietly. My mother doesn't make threats she can't keep. If she says she has people in position, she does. If she says she can walk out in 48 hours, she probably can. Then what do we do? We don't give her 48 hours. He turned to Min-ji. Get David and Ji-yoon somewhere secure, somewhere my mother doesn't know about, and I need you to reach out to every contact we have in law enforcement, media, anyone who can't be bought. We're going to release everything, the recordings, the documents, the video of tonight, all of it. Make it impossible for her people to bury. That's scorched earth, Min-ji said. You'll expose the entire organization. Everyone goes down, not just your mother. I know, do it anyway. Min-ji nodded and moved away, already on her phone. Detective Park approached cautiously, his hand near his weapon. Mr. Ryu, I need to know what's happening here. My officers were nearly killed. Your officers were in the wrong place at the wrong time, Detective, but I'm about to make it worth your while. Jaemin gestured to the evidence boxes still stacked nearby. Everything you need to dismantle the fentanyl network is in those boxes. Names, routes, suppliers, buyers. Enough to make arrests from here to Beijing. Take it, use it. Become the hero who broke the biggest drug operation on the West Coast. In exchange for what? In exchange for making sure my mother never sees daylight again. I don't care how you do it. Federal charges, witness protection for anyone willing to testify against her, deals with her enemies, whatever it takes. She threatened to kill everyone in this room. I want her buried so deep she'll need permission to breathe. Park studied him for a long moment. You really hate her, don't you? She killed my father. She's killed dozens of innocent people. And she just threatened the life of someone I... He stopped, glancing at Naomi. Someone under my protection. So yes, Detective, I hate her. And I'm giving you the tools to destroy her. Are you going to use them, or are you going to let bureaucracy and corruption win? Park looked at the evidence boxes, then at Naomi, then back at Jaemin. I'll need protection for my family. If what you're saying is true, the moment I move against her, they become targets. Done. Min-ji will arrange it. Federal witness protection if necessary. And you? What happens to you when all this goes public? I'll deal with that when the time comes. Right now, keeping everyone alive is more important than keeping my empire. Park extended his hand. You're either the bravest man I've ever met or the stupidest. I'm not sure which. Probably both, Jaemin said, shaking it. As Park's officers began loading the evidence boxes into their vehicles, Naomi pulled Jaemin aside. You're giving up everything, she said. The organization, the power, all of it. Why? Because my mother's right about one thing. I am too much like my father. He had a conscience, and it got him killed. But maybe that's not a weakness. Maybe that's the only thing that separates us from monsters. He looked at her. Besides, what good is an empire built on bodies? Sooner or later, those ghosts come for you. Better to tear it down and build something new. Something legal? He laughed, a short, bitter sound. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But something that doesn't murder Waitress's brothers to cover up mistakes. That's a start. Before Naomi could respond, Ji-yoon came running in from the van outside, laptop clutched to her chest. We have a problem, a massive problem. She set the laptop on a crate, fingers flying over the keyboard. I've been monitoring the dark web channels the organization uses for communication. Someone just put out a contract, $500,000. Dead or alive. She turned the screen to face them. Naomi's photograph filled the display. A recent one, from the club, showing her in her waitress uniform. Below it, her full name, last known address, vehicle description. Everything someone would need to find her. The headline read, Priority Target, Immediate Elimination Authorized. My mother works fast, Jaemin said grimly. It gets worse, Ji-yoon continued. The contract isn't just on the dark web. It's been sent to every organized crime group on the West Coast. Triads, cartels, biker gangs, anyone who wants $500,000 and doesn't mind killing for it. How long before someone comes for her? Min-ji asked. Probably already happening. This went out 20 minutes ago. Ji-yoon pulled up a map with red dots appearing across Los Angeles. These are known locations of hitmen and enforcers. I'm tracking movement through traffic cameras and cell signals. At least 15 are already heading toward Naomi's apartment. I haven't been to my apartment in 2 days, Naomi said. Doesn't matter. They'll stake it out, wait for you to come back. And they'll start checking hospitals, hotels, anywhere you might be hiding. Jaemin was already moving. Min-ji, we need to move now. Multiple safe houses, different locations. Split up so they can't hit us all at once. No, Naomi said. Everyone turned to look at her. No more running, no more hiding. Your mother wants to play this game? Fine. Let's play, but on our terms. Naomi, there are professional killers converging on the city right now with your picture in their phones. This isn't the time for bravery. I'm not being brave. I'm being smart. Your mother thinks we'll scatter, that we'll spend all our time and resources protecting ourselves. But what if we don't? What if we go on offense instead? Jamin studied her. What are you suggesting? You said your mother has people everywhere, judges, lawyers, cops, people who'll help her walk out of custody. So let's identify them. Let's expose them before they can help her. Turn her assets into liabilities. That would take days, maybe weeks. We don't have that kind of time. Then we make time. Naomi turned to Ji-yoon. You said you've been monitoring the organization's communication channels. Can you trace who's been in contact with Jamin's mother since her arrest? Already on it. I've got phone records, email traffic, encrypted messaging apps. Give me an hour and I can give you a list of everyone who's reached out to her. And I can cross-reference that with my mother's known associates, Jamin added, catching on to Naomi's plan. Anyone who contacts her now is either loyal or looking to make a deal. Either way, they're exposed. Exactly. We leak their names to media, to rival factions within the organization, to anyone who can use that information. We turn her support network against itself. Minji was shaking her head. This is insane. You're trying to fight a war on multiple fronts while half the criminal underworld is hunting you. We're already fighting that war, Naomi shot back. We're just choosing our battlefield instead of letting them choose it for us. The room fell silent as everyone processed this. Finally, Jae-min smiled. Marcus would be proud of you. You think like a strategist. Marcus taught me to play chess. He said the key to winning wasn't protecting your king. It was controlling the center of the board. Naomi looked at each of them. Right now, everyone thinks we're the target, but we're not. We're the weapon. And it's time we started acting like it. Over the next 12 hours, they turned the penthouse command center into a war room. David and Ji-yoon worked their technical magic, cracking encrypted communications and tracing financial transactions. Minji coordinated security and recruited people loyal to Jamin from within the organization. Detective Park fed them information from police channels and started making arrests based on the evidence they'd provided. And Naomi worked with Heyman to build a strategy that would destroy his mother's network piece by piece. By early afternoon, they had their first target. Judge Richard Morrison, Ji-yoon announced, pulling up his profile. Superior Court, Los Angeles County. He's been in contact with your mother 6 times since her arrest. 5 phone calls, 1 encrypted message. What did the message say? Jamin asked. Arraignment scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bail hearing to follow. Conditions discussed will be met. Ji-yoon looked up. He's going to let her out on bail. On a murder charge? Naomi said. That's impossible. Not if the murder was committed by someone else, David interjected, pulling up legal documents. Look at this. Morrison's already got the paperwork filed. He's claiming your mother shot Victor in self-defense. That Victor was the real criminal, that he threatened her and she had no choice but to protect herself. There were 30 witnesses who saw what happened. And Morrison will claim they're all biased, organization members trying to protect Jamin, who orchestrated a coup against his own mother. He'll paint her as a victim of her son's ambition. David scrolled through more documents. It's actually brilliant legal maneuvering, evil but brilliant. Jamin's jaw clenched. We need to disqualify Morrison from the case. On what grounds? Minji asked. Corruption. Conflict of interest. We prove he's been on my mother's payroll for years, and he can't hear the case. That could take months, Naomi said. Your mother will be out by tomorrow afternoon. Then we don't use legal channels. Jamin pulled out his phone and made a call. Mr. Kang? Yes, it's me. I need a favor. You know Judge Morrison, correct? Good. I need you to make sure he understands that presiding over my mother's case would be inadvisable for his health. He listened. No, not a threat, an education. Make it clear that certain financial irregularities in his past might become public if he continues down this path. Yes. Thank you. He ended the call. Blackmail? Naomi asked. Leverage. Morrison has been embezzling from court settlement funds for years. My mother knows about it, which is why he's loyal to her. But now I know about it too. And unlike my mother, I'm willing to go public with it. What if he doesn't back down? Then we escalate. But I'm betting he will. Morrison's not loyal out of love. He's loyal because it's profitable. The moment that changes, so does his loyalty. The phone rang 2 hours later. Mr. Kang's voice was satisfied. Judge Morrison has recused himself from the case, citing scheduling conflicts. The case has been reassigned to Judge Patricia Chen. Is Chen on my mother's payroll? Jamin asked. No, she's actually known for being incorruptible. Your mother tried to buy her years ago and failed. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Kang. One piece off the board. But there were dozens more to go. Over the next 24 hours, they systematically dismantled Jamin's mother's support network. A police captain who'd been funneling information to her suddenly found himself under internal investigation. A prosecutor who was preparing to drop charges against her received evidence of his affair with a key witness, forcing him to recuse himself. A bail bondsman who'd arranged for her release discovered that his business licenses were being revoked for code violations. Each move was calculated, precise, surgical. They weren't destroying these people, just neutralizing them, making them too compromised or too scared to help. But Jamin's mother was adapting too. The contract on Naomi's life increased to $750,000. 2 attempts were made to breach the penthouse's security, both repelled by Minji's team but resulting in injuries. David was nearly killed when a car bomb went off in the parking garage. He survived only because Ji-yoon had spotted the device on security cameras and warned him in time. She's escalating, Minji said, studying the latest threat assessment. We've blocked her legal avenues, so she's going for direct action. At this rate, she'll just hire someone to storm this building with automatic weapons. Let her try, Jamin said, though the strain was showing on his face. He hadn't slept in 36 hours. None of them had. Every move she makes, every person she contacts, every dollar she spends, it's all evidence. Detective Park is building a case that'll send her away for life. If we survive long enough for it to matter, Naomi muttered. She was standing at the window, looking out at Los Angeles. Somewhere down there, people were hunting her. Professionals with weapons and experience and no qualms about killing. And all because she'd spilled champagne on the wrong man. No, that wasn't right. All because she'd chosen to fight instead of kneel. She'd make the same choice again. Jamin joined her at the window. I need to tell you something. If it's bad news, I don't want to hear it. It's important. My mother's arraignment is tomorrow morning. Judge Chen is presiding, and she's already indicated that bail is unlikely given the severity of the charges and the defendant's resources, which means my mother will stay in custody, at least for now. That's good news. It would be, except I just got word from a contact in the jail. My mother's been moved to a different wing, higher security, isolated from other prisoners. He paused. She requested the move, and it was approved within an hour. Why would she want to be isolated? Because she's planning something big enough that she doesn't want witnesses. Jamin turned to face her. Naomi, I think she's arranging to disappear, not escape. Disappear. New identity, new life, probably already has resources stashed in accounts we don't know about. She'll walk out of that courthouse tomorrow and we'll never see her again. How? She's in custody, under guard. Guards can be bought. Records can be altered. My mother's been preparing exit strategies her entire life. She probably has 3 different ways to vanish, and we've only blocked the obvious ones. Naomi felt something cold settle in her stomach. If she disappears, there's no justice. Not for Marcus, not for your father, not for anyone she's hurt. I know. So what do we do? Jamin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with the weight of what he was about to suggest. We take the choice away from her. We make sure she never makes it to that courthouse. The implication hung in the air between them. You're talking about killing her, Naomi said. I'm talking about preventing a monster from escaping justice. If she walks out of that jail, she'll rebuild. She'll come after everyone who helped us. And next time, she won't make the mistakes she made this time. She'll be smarter, more careful, more ruthless. And if we kill her, we're no better than she is. Maybe. Or maybe we're people making a hard choice to protect others. I don't know anymore. The lines keep getting blurrier. He looked at her. But I do know this. If we let her escape, Marcus died for nothing. Victor died for nothing. All of this was for nothing. Naomi thought about her brother, about the letter he'd sent from prison, the fear in his words, about the way he'd believed in the system, in justice, in doing things the right way. But the system had failed him. Justice had been bought and sold. The right way had gotten him killed. "How would we even do it?" she asked quietly. "I have people inside the jail. Inmates who owe me favors, guards who are loyal to me, not her. It would have to look natural, heart attack, stroke, something that wouldn't trigger an investigation. Nothing about your mother dying in jail the night before her arraignment would look natural." "You're right, which is why we don't do it in jail. We do it during transport to the courthouse. An accident, vehicle malfunction, these things happen. With 30 witnesses and cameras everywhere? With the right planning, yes." Minji appeared in the doorway. "Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. The contract on Naomi just hit $1 million, and there's a new stipulation. She needs to be taken alive." Everyone froze. "Alive?" Naomi repeated. "Your mother wants to make an example of you, probably torture you, video it, send it to Jaemin as a message." Minji's expression was grim. "I've identified at least 3 teams converging on this building right now. Professional crews, military-grade equipment. We can hold them off, but not indefinitely." Jaemin was already moving. "Everyone pack essential gear. We're evacuating in 5 minutes. David, Jiyun, you're going to a different location. Minji, your team splits up. Half with them, half with us. We spread out, make them divide their resources." "Where are you going?" Minji asked. "The last place my mother would expect. The one place in this city where we'll be safe." "Which is?" "The jail where she's being held. We're going to visit her. Tonight. Before the arraignment." He looked at Naomi. "And we're going to make her an offer she can't refuse." The Los Angeles County Jail was a fortress of concrete and razor wire, designed to keep people in, but also, ironically, to keep unauthorized people out. Getting past security with weapons was impossible. Getting past security as the son of the facility's most notorious inmate, however, was surprisingly easy. Jaemin had called ahead, speaking to the warden, a man named Thomas Rodriguez, who'd worked with the organization for years, not on the payroll exactly, but willing to accept favors and look the other way when convenient. "She's in Isolation Wing C," Rodriguez said, meeting them in a secure corridor. "I can give you 15 minutes. No weapons, no recording devices, and whatever you discuss is between you and her." "Understood," Jaemin said. Rodriguez studied Naomi. "You're the one with the contract on your head." "Apparently. You're either very brave or very stupid to come here. I get that a lot." Rodriguez almost smiled. Then he led them through a series of locked doors, each one clanging shut behind them with a finality that made Naomi's skin crawl. Finally, they reached a corridor with a single cell at the end. Jaemin's mother sat on a narrow bed, looking remarkably composed for someone facing multiple murder charges. She wore an orange jumpsuit that somehow still looked elegant on her. When she saw them approach, she stood gracefully. "Jaemin, and you brought the girl. How thoughtful." Her voice carried the same cold amusement it always did. "Come to gloat?" "Come to make a deal," Jaemin said. "I'm listening." "You withdraw the contract on Naomi. You call off every hitman, every enforcer, everyone you've sent after us. You plead guilty to all charges and accept a life sentence without possibility of parole." His mother laughed. "And in exchange for this generous surrender, I receive what exactly?" "Your life. You get to live out your days in comfortable confinement. Books, decent food, maybe even some privileges if you behave. It's more than you deserve, but it's what I'm offering." "And if I refuse?" "Then you die, tonight, during transport to the courthouse tomorrow. An accident that investigation won't be able to prove wasn't an accident, but that you and I will both know was murder." His mother's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "You're bluffing. You don't have the stomach to kill your own mother." "Try me. I watched you murder Victor in cold blood. I heard you confess to killing my father. You threatened everyone I care about. So yes, mother, I absolutely have the stomach to end you if it means keeping them safe." The silence stretched between them. Finally, his mother turned her attention to Naomi. "And you, girl, are you comfortable with this? With becoming a murderer yourself?" "I'm comfortable with stopping you," Naomi said evenly. "However that needs to happen." How noble. Tell me, do you think your brother would approve? Marcus, wasn't it? The boy who wanted to be a lawyer, who believed in justice and fairness? Naomi's hands clenched into fists, but her voice stayed calm. My brother believed in protecting people from monsters. That's exactly what I'm doing. By threatening to kill an unarmed woman in custody? That's not justice. That's revenge. Then call it revenge. I'm fine with that. Jaemin's mother studied her for a long moment, then turned back to her son. You've chosen well. She's stronger than she looks. Smarter, too. She walked to the bars separating them. But you're both making a critical error. You think I'm trapped in here with you, that you hold all the cards. You don't. The arraignment is tomorrow at 10 a.m., Jaemin said. You have until then to decide. Accept my deal or face the consequences. I've already made my decision. His mother smiled. I'm going to walk out of that courthouse tomorrow a free woman. Judge Chen, for all her reputation of being incorruptible, has a daughter studying abroad in Paris. Lovely girl, 22 years old. It would be tragic if something happened to her. Jaemin's face went pale. You're threatening a judge's daughter? I'm stating facts. Chen will do whatever I tell her to do, or her daughter suffers. And that's just one of many contingencies I have in place. You've been clever, Jaemin. I'm proud of you, but you're still thinking 3 moves ahead while I'm thinking 30. We'll protect Chen's daughter. You'll do nothing, because while you're scrambling to protect one person, I'll be moving on 10 others. You can't watch everyone all the time. Eventually, someone you care about will be vulnerable. And when they are, I'll strike. Naomi felt despair creeping in. Jaemin's mother was right. They couldn't protect everyone. But then she remembered something Marcus used to say when they played chess. Sometimes the only way to win is to sacrifice your queen. You're right, Naomi said suddenly. We can't protect everyone, so we won't try. Both Jaemin and his mother looked at her in confusion. Instead, we're going to give you exactly what you want. We're going to drop all charges. We're going to destroy the evidence. We're going to let you walk out of here free and clear. Naomi, what are you In exchange, she continued, ignoring Jaemin, you leave us alone. You withdraw the contract. You disappear. New identity, new life, whatever you want. Just go away and never come back. Jaemin's mother's eyes narrowed. Why would you offer that? Because you're right. We can't win this fight. Not against someone with your resources and your willingness to hurt innocent people. So instead of fighting, we're surrendering. You win. We lose. Everyone goes home alive. I don't believe you. I don't care if you believe me. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being afraid. And I'm tired of more people dying because of my brother's murder. So take the deal. Walk away. Let it end. The cell was silent except for the distant sounds of the jail. Doors clanging, voices echoing, the mechanical hum of ventilation systems. Finally, Jaemin's mother spoke. If I agree to this, I want it in writing, signed by both of you, witnessed by the warden, and I want all evidence destroyed in my presence before I leave this facility. Done, Naomi said. Naomi, no, Jaemin started. It's over, Jaemin. Let her go. It's the only way this ends without more death. He stared at her like she'd lost her mind. And maybe she had, but she'd also seen something in his mother's eyes. Eagerness. Hunger. The woman was so confident in her victory that she wasn't questioning why Naomi would surrender so easily, which meant she wasn't seeing the trap. Fine, Jaemin said slowly, catching on. We'll have the paperwork drawn up. You'll be released tomorrow after the arraignment is dismissed. But mother, if you ever come back, if you ever threaten anyone connected to us again, the deal is void. Agreed, though I can't imagine why I'd ever want to return to this city. Too many bad memories. His mother smiled. It's been a pleasure doing business with you both. Now get out of my sight. I have arrangements to make. They left the jail in silence. It wasn't until they were back in the car, driving through the dark streets of Los Angeles, that Jaemin finally spoke. Please tell me you have a plan. I do, Naomi said. But you're not going to like it. I already don't like it. Tell me anyway. We let her go. We destroy the evidence like we promised, and then we let Detective Park arrest her at the airport on completely different charges. The federal crimes from Victor's operation, the fentanyl network, the weapons trafficking, everything Park's been building. Jaemin was quiet for a moment. Then he started laughing, a genuine sound of relief and admiration. The evidence we're destroying is only about her role in Marcus's death and my father's. But Park has his own evidence about the drug operation. Evidence she doesn't know he has because it came from Victor's files. Exactly. She walks out thinking she's won and gets arrested 5 minutes later on charges she can't buy her way out of because they're federal. That's actually brilliant. Marcus taught me that too. Sometimes the best way to beat someone is to let them think they've already won. They drove in silence for a while, both lost in thought. Finally, Naomi asked the question that had been bothering her since the warehouse. What happens to us after this is done? After your mother's in federal prison and the organization is dismantled? Jamin considered this. I suppose that depends. Do you want to disappear? New identity? Fresh start somewhere far from here? Do you? No. I've spent my entire life being someone else, playing roles, wearing masks. I'm tired of it. I want to be who I actually am, whatever that means. And who is that? I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. And I'd like you there when I do. Naomi looked at him, really looked at him. The crime lord who'd orchestrated his own mother's downfall, the son who'd been brave enough to break free from a legacy of violence, the man who'd helped her find justice for Marcus, even though it cost him everything. I'll stay, she said, but we're doing things differently. No more empire, no more criminal organization. If we're going to build something, it's going to be legitimate. Legitimate is boring. Legitimate keeps us out of prison. Fair point, he smiled. Legitimate it is. The next morning, they stood in a parking garage 2 blocks from the courthouse. Minji, David, and Ji-yoon were with them, along with Detective Park and a team of federal agents. She's leaving the jail now, Ji-yoon reported, watching her laptop. Warden Rodriguez signed off on her release personally. All charges dismissed, evidence destroyed. She's a free woman. For about 5 more minutes, Park said. He held up an arrest warrant. Federal charges. Conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, racketeering, money laundering. Enough to put her away for 3 consecutive life sentences. She'll fight it, Jamin warned. She has lawyers who'll drag this out for years. Let her try. Unlike local charges, federal crimes don't care how many judges she owns. And I've got Victor's entire operation documented. His suppliers, his distribution network, his financial records. She can deny involvement all she wants, but the evidence doesn't lie. A black car pulled up to the courthouse. Jamin's mother emerged, flanked by 2 lawyers, looking victorious. She walked up the courthouse steps like a queen returning to her throne. The arraignment took 15 minutes. The judge, Chen, looking relieved but also confused, dismissed all charges due to lack of evidence and procedural irregularities. Jamin's mother didn't even smile. She simply nodded and left. She made it exactly to the bottom of the courthouse steps before federal agents surrounded her. Mrs. Ryu, you're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute fentanyl and related controlled substances. You have the right to remain silent. Through binoculars, Naomi watched her face. The moment of confusion, the flash of fury, and then, just for a second, something that might have been respect. She looked directly at where they were watching from, though there was no way she could actually see them, and mouthed 2 words. Well played. Then she was handcuffed and led away to a federal transport vehicle. It's over, Minji said. Not yet, Naomi replied. Not until she's convicted and sentenced. She'll fight this. Let her, Jamin said. We're not fighting anymore. Detective Park is. The federal prosecutors are. All we have to do is testify when the time comes and let the system work. You trust the system now? No. But I trust that woman's ego. She'll insist on going to trial because she can't imagine losing. And that ego will be her downfall. He was right. Over the next 6 months, they watched from a distance as Jae-min's mother fought her case with every resource she had. But federal prosecutors were a different breed from local ones. They couldn't be bought or threatened as easily, and the evidence was overwhelming. In the end, she was convicted on 17 counts and sentenced to life in federal prison without possibility of parole. The organization she'd built crumbled without her. Some members went to prison, others disappeared. A few, including Mr. Kang, tried to rebuild but found they couldn't compete with the new generation of criminals who played by different rules. Jae-min dissolved what remained of the family business and used his legitimate holdings, real estate, investments, technology companies, to build something new, something legal. Naomi helped him. Not as his employee or his subordinate, but as his equal. They built a private security firm that specialized in protecting people from the kind of threats they'd faced. Witness protection for people testifying against organized crime, security for judges and prosecutors who couldn't trust official channels, consulting for law enforcement agencies trying to dismantle criminal organizations. They called it Carter Ryu Protection Services. Marcus would have liked that. 1 year after his mother's sentencing, Jae-min stood at his father's grave. It was a quiet morning, fog rolling in from the ocean, the cemetery almost empty. Naomi stood beside him, her hand in his. "I hope I did right by you," he said quietly to the headstone. "I know you wanted to confess, to make things right. I'm trying to do that now, in my own way." "He'd be proud," Naomi said. "You think so?" "I know so. You broke a cycle. That's the hardest thing anyone can do." They stood in silence for a while, remembering the dead. Jaemin's father, Marcus, even Victor in a way. All victims of a system that consumed people and spit out corpses. But that system was broken now, not destroyed. It would take more than one woman's arrest to end organized crime in Los Angeles, but broken enough that maybe, just maybe, fewer families would suffer the way theirs had. "We should go," Jae-min said finally. "We have that meeting with the FBI task force at 2. The one about the human trafficking ring? That's the one. They want our help identifying the financiers." "Our help, or your mother's financial records?" "Both. Turns out keeping detailed ledgers of every crime you've ever committed is useful when law enforcement gets their hands on them." They walked back to the car, leaving flowers on the grave. As they drove away, Naomi looked back one last time at the cemetery disappearing into the fog. Marcus was at peace now. Justice had been served. The people responsible for his death were either dead or imprisoned. It should have felt like an ending. Instead, it felt like a beginning. "What are you thinking about?" Jae-min asked. "That we survived. Against all odds, we actually survived. Is that surprising?" "A year ago, I was a waitress planning to throw champagne on a crime lord. The fact that I'm sitting here now instead of dead in a ditch somewhere is pretty miraculous." "You were never just a waitress. You were always a fighter. You just needed a reason to fight. And you gave me one." "No, your brother gave you one. I just pointed you in the right direction." Naomi smiled. "You know what Marcus used to say? He said the best revenge isn't getting even. It's living well." "He was a wise man." "Yeah, he was." They drove through Los Angeles as the fog began to clear, revealing a city that looked different now. Not cleaner or safer necessarily, but full of possibility, full of hope that things could be better than they were. And somewhere in federal prison, Jaemin's mother sat in a cell, probably still plotting, still scheming, still believing she'd find a way out. Let her believe it. The truth was, she'd already lost. Not because they'd beaten her in some final confrontation or because justice had been served in a courtroom. She'd lost because her son had found something worth fighting for that wasn't power or control. She'd lost because Naomi had refused to kneel, had refused to break, had refused to let Marcus's death be meaningless. She'd lost because they'd built something better from the ashes of her empire. And that was a victory no amount of scheming could take away. The call came 18 months after Jaemin's mother was sentenced. Naomi was in the office reviewing security protocols for a high-profile witness when her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. She almost ignored it. Unknown numbers were usually threats or scams these days, but something made her answer. "Naomi Carter." "Ms. Carter, this is Warden Elizabeth Walsh from Federal Correctional Institution, Victorville. I'm calling regarding inmate 47829-112, also known as—" "I know who she is," Naomi said, her blood running cold. "What happened?" "She's requested a meeting with you, and with her son. She claims she has information about an imminent threat to your lives." Naomi's grip tightened on the phone. "This is a manipulation. She's trying to get us close enough to—" "To what?" "She's in maximum security, Ms. Carter. She can't hurt anyone." But she was quite insistent, and frankly, given the nature of what she claims to know, I thought it prudent to at least relay the message. "What kind of threat?" She wouldn't say over the phone. She'll only discuss it in person. Today, if possible. Naomi looked across the office to where Jae-min was reviewing contracts with their legal team. He caught her eye, sensing something was wrong. I'll need to discuss this with Jae-min, she said. Can I call you back in an hour? Of course, but Ms. Carter? Whatever issues you have with this woman, I'd take her seriously. I've been a warden for 23 years. I know when an inmate is playing games and when they're genuinely afraid. This woman is afraid. After the call ended, Naomi sat in silence for a moment. The idea of Jae-min's mother being afraid of anything seemed impossible. That woman had orchestrated murders from a jail cell, had threatened federal judges, had looked at a life sentence with nothing but cold amusement. What could possibly scare her? Jae-min dismissed his legal team and walked over. That was a short conversation with a very long silence after. What's wrong? She told him. Watched his expression shift from confusion to anger to something that looked almost like concern. It's a trap, he said flatly. Some kind of manipulation. She wants to see us, probably to gloat or threaten or try one last time to get under our skin. That's what I thought. But the warden said she seemed genuinely scared. My mother doesn't get scared. She makes other people scared. Exactly. Which is why if she is actually afraid of something, we need to know what it is. Jae-min ran a hand through his hair, a rare sign of stress. Over the past year and a half, he'd become more relaxed, more at peace. The constant vigilance had faded. They'd built a life that felt almost normal. Almost. If we go prepared, he said finally. Minji comes with us. Full security detail. And at the first sign of anything suspicious, we leave. Agreed. 3 hours later, they were driving through the desert toward Victorville. Minji sat in the front passenger seat, constantly scanning their surroundings. 2 more security vehicles followed at a discreet distance. I don't like this, Minji said for the 3rd time. Federal prison or not, walking into a meeting with that woman feels like walking into a cage with a tiger. A caged tiger, Jae-min corrected. She can't hurt us. Tigers are most dangerous when they're cornered. The prison rose out of the desert like a concrete monument to human failing, all sharp angles and razor wire, built to contain the worst of the worst. The processing took an hour, background checks, metal detectors, pat-downs. Minji had to wait outside. Only Naomi and Jae-min were approved for the meeting. Warden Walsh met them in a secure corridor. She was in her 50s, gray-haired and serious, with eyes that had seen every manipulation in the book. Thank you for coming, she said. I want to be clear about the rules. You'll meet in a private room, but it's monitored by cameras and guards. The conversation will be recorded. You can end the meeting at any time. How has she been? Jae-min asked. Difficult. She refuses to associate with other inmates, spends most of her time in the law library filing appeals. But something changed about 3 days ago. She became agitated, paranoid, started asking for protective custody. Protective custody from what? She wouldn't say, just kept insisting she needed to speak with you both. They were led to a small meeting room with a table bolted to the floor and chairs that couldn't be used as weapons. Jaemin's mother sat on one side wearing the standard khaki prison uniform. She looked thinner than Naomi remembered, older. Prison had worn away some of that imperious polish, but her eyes were still sharp, still calculating. Hello, Jae-min, she said. Naomi. Mother. Jae-min sat down across from her. Naomi remained standing, hands in her pockets where a panic button was hidden. You wanted to see us? Here we are. Always so businesslike. You get that from me, you know? Your father was emotional, impulsive. I taught you control. She folded her hands on the table. How is the security business? Protecting people from threats. The irony isn't lost on me. We didn't drive 3 hours to exchange pleasantries. What's the threat you mentioned? His mother's smile faded. Before I tell you, I need assurances. Protection. A transfer to a different facility, preferably overseas. And consideration for early parole. You're serving life without parole, Naomi said. There is no early release. Then I'll die in here, and when I do, you'll die out there. Within a week, probably, maybe less. More threats? Jae-min leaned back. That's disappointing. I thought perhaps prison had given you some perspective. This isn't a threat. It's a warning, and if you're smart, which I know you are, because I raised you, you'll listen. She looked directly at Naomi. Tell me, have either of you noticed anything unusual lately? People watching you? Vehicles following you? Strange phone calls? Naomi and Jaemin exchanged glances. Actually, there had been a few incidents. Nothing concrete, just the feeling of being observed. Security cameras catching shadows that shouldn't be there. But they'd assumed it was normal paranoia, given their history. We have the best security team in the city, Jaemin said. If someone was targeting us, we'd know. You'd think so, but you're not dealing with amateurs, you're dealing with the syndicate. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Naomi had heard of the syndicate only in whispers. An international criminal organization so secretive that most law enforcement agencies weren't sure it actually existed. If the Russian Mafia was the bear and the Italian mob was the lion, the syndicate was the shark, invisible until it struck, and by then it was too late. The syndicate is a myth, Jaemin said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Then explain how I've been receiving messages in my cell. Not through guards or phones or any traceable means. Messages that appear under my pillow, in my books, in my food. Messages telling me that my cooperation in dismantling the organization has been noted, that my testimony against Victor and others has caused problems for their operations. You didn't testify against anyone. You were convicted on evidence. Evidence that you provided. Evidence that led to dozens of arrests, including 3 people who were, apparently, working for the syndicate. They funded Victor's fentanyl operation. They were silent partners in my organization, and now they want compensation for their losses. Compensation, Naomi repeated. Meaning what? Meaning you, both of you. They want the people responsible for destroying their investment, and they have the resources to make it happen. The messages have been very clear. My life in here is forfeit, unless I cooperate in eliminating you out there. Jaemin stood abruptly. This is absurd. You're inventing a phantom threat to manipulate us into getting you transferred or released. It's transparent, Mother, and it's not going to work. Am I? She pulled something from under her sleeve, a piece of paper that should never have been in her possession. She slid it across the table. The paper had a photograph. Naomi's blood went cold when she saw it. It was her and Jaemin, taken yesterday morning outside their office. High resolution, professional. The kind of surveillance photo that preceded an assassination. Written across the bottom in red ink. 30 days. Where did you get this? Jaemin demanded. It appeared in my cell this morning, along with a message. Help them complete the contract or die. They have people inside this prison. Guards. Inmates. I don't know. But they got this to me as a demonstration. They can reach me here, which means they can definitely reach you out there. Naomi studied the photograph, her mind racing. The angle suggested it was taken from a building across the street from their office. They had security cameras, motion detectors, guards. How had someone gotten that close without being detected? Even if this is real, she said slowly, why would they tell you? Why give us 30 days warning? Because they want me to participate. They want me to provide information about your routines, your security, your vulnerabilities. In exchange, they'll keep me alive in here. His mother's expression was impossible to read. I refused, of course, which is why I'm in protective custody now, which is why I called you, because whatever else I am, I'm not going to be responsible for my son's death. How touching, Jaemin said bitterly. You've already tried to have us killed at least 3 times. That was business. This is different. The syndicate doesn't stop. They don't forgive debts, and they sure as hell don't care about boundaries or law or anything except their bottom line. You cost them money. They will collect that debt in blood. The room fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and distant sounds of the prison. Finally, Naomi spoke. If what you're saying is true, and I'm not conceding that it is, what do you want from us? Transfer me to a facility overseas, somewhere the syndicate's reach is limited, and in exchange I'll tell you everything I know about them. Names, operations, how they're likely to come after you. It's not much, but it's more than you have now. And we're supposed to trust you? No. You're supposed to be smart enough to recognize when someone's interests align with yours. I want to live. You want to live. The syndicate wants us both dead. Seems like a natural alliance. Jae-min shook his head. I need to verify this. I'm not making any deals based on a photograph and your word. Verify it quickly. You have 30 days according to that message. But I'd guess you have less. The syndicate likes to create psychological pressure. They'll say 30 days, then strike in 15, just to prove they're in control. They left the prison in silence. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, beautiful and barren, and somehow ominous now. She's lying, Jae-min said as they got in the car. She has to be lying. Maybe, Naomi replied, but that photograph is real. Someone took it. Someone got it to her. That part at least is true. Minji was on her phone before they'd even left the parking lot. I'm pulling all security footage from the past week. If someone's been surveilling you, I'll find them. Over the next 72 hours, they discovered the truth was somehow worse than Jae-min's mother had suggested. The surveillance wasn't just from one location, it was from dozens. Cameras hidden in street lamps, vehicles, even a drone that had been circling their office building for weeks. Someone had been mapping their every movement with military precision. David and Ji-yoon traced the origin of the equipment. All of it was purchased through shell companies that led back to a network of criminal enterprises spanning 3 continents. And buried in the financial records was a name that made everyone in the room go silent. Phantom Holdings Limited. That's a known front for the syndicate, Ji-yoon said quietly. I've seen it mentioned in FBI reports about international organized crime. They use it to move money and resources without leaving traces. So it's real, Naomi said. The syndicate is actually after us. Appears so. And based on the level of surveillance, they're not just planning a hit. They're planning something elaborate, something that sends a message to anyone else who might consider interfering with their operations. Jae-min was pacing, the old tension returning to his shoulders. We need to go underground, full protection protocols. Move to secure locations, vary our routines, maybe even leave the country for a while. That's exactly what they want, Naomi said. They want us scared, running, making mistakes. Better scared and alive than brave and dead. There's another option. All eyes turned to her. We go on offense. Find out who in the syndicate is running this operation and neutralize them before they can strike. The syndicate isn't like the organizations we've dealt with before, Minji said. They're ghosts. No one knows who leads them, where they operate from, or even how many people are involved. Trying to fight them is like trying to fight smoke. Then we make them solid. We force them to reveal themselves. Naomi turned to Jae-min. Your mother said she has information, names, operations. What if she's telling the truth? What if she actually knows how to hurt them? And what if this is all an elaborate scheme to get transferred to a cushy international prison where she can escape more easily? Then we're careful. We verify everything she tells us. But Jae-min, that photograph is real. The surveillance is real. Whether your mother is manipulating us or not, the syndicate is coming. We can either run and hope they don't find us, or we can fight back while we still have time. He stopped pacing and looked at her. When did you become the aggressive one? When someone put a 30-day countdown on our lives. They went back to Victorville the next day. This time, Detective Park came with them, along with 2 FBI agents specializing in international organized crime. Jae-min's mother looked surprised to see the federal presence. Bringing reinforcements? Smart. We verified the surveillance, Jae-min said without preamble. The syndicate is real, and they're targeting us. So if you have information that can help, now's the time to share it. And my transfer? Conditional. You give us actionable intelligence that leads to arrests or disruption of syndicate operations, and we'll consider relocation to a European facility. But you don't get to pick which one, and it'll still be maximum security. She smiled slightly. I've negotiated worse deals. Very well. What do you want to know? One of the FBI agents, a woman named Sarah Chen, leaned forward. Start with structure. Who runs the syndicate? No one knows. It's designed that way. The organization is cellular, small groups that don't communicate directly with each other. Each cell has a handler, but those handlers are anonymous. Orders come through encrypted channels. Money moves through untraceable accounts. It's brilliant, really. That's not helpful, Chen said. I'm not finished. While the overall structure is opaque, individual operations have weak points. The cell that funded Victor's fentanyl operation, for example. I know who handled that relationship. Names. One name. Alexander Volkov, Russian national, operates out of Vancouver. He was Victor's primary contact with the syndicate. When Victor's operation collapsed, Volkov lost a substantial investment. He's the one who ordered the contract on you. How do you know this? Because he told me, or rather, his people told me through those messages. They wanted me to know who was coming for my son, probably thinking it would motivate me to help them. Chen was already typing on her laptop. Volkov is in our database, suspected of running an international money laundering operation, but we've never been able to touch him. He's always in Canada, which makes extradition complicated. He won't be in Canada much longer, Jae-min's mother said. I know this because part of the syndicate's plan involves bringing him to Los Angeles. They want him present for the final phase. It's a pride thing. Volkov wants to personally oversee your deaths because you made him look weak to his superiors. When? Naomi asked. The messages didn't specify. But if I had to guess, based on how the syndicate operates, they'll move in the next 10 days. Bring Volkov in under diplomatic cover, execute the contract, and have him back in Canada before anyone can respond. How would they execute it? Jae-min asked. His mother looked at him with something that might have been regret. Publicly. Brutally. The syndicate makes examples of people who cost them money. They'll want your deaths to be newsworthy, a warning to anyone else who might interfere. The room went cold. Chen closed her laptop. If we can verify any of this, and if it leads to Volkov's arrest, the Bureau will support your transfer request. But understand, we're not doing this for you. We're doing this to stop the syndicate. I understand. And Agent Chen, you might want to check shipping manifests from Vancouver to Long Beach. Volkov owns a company called Pacific Trade Solutions. They move industrial equipment through the port. I'd be willing to bet at least one of those shipments in the past week contained something that isn't on the manifest. After they left, the four of them sat in a conference room at the FBI's Los Angeles field office. The atmosphere was tense, everyone processing what they'd learned. We need to verify the shipping information, Chen said. If she's right about the containers, it gives us probable cause to search and potentially detain Volkov when he arrives. And if she's lying, Park asked, then we've wasted some time, but we're no worse off than before. Except the 30-day clock is still counting down, Naomi pointed out. We can't just wait for verification. We need to prepare. Chen nodded. Agreed. I'll have a protection detail assigned to both of you. Round-the-clock surveillance, secure locations, the works. That won't work, Jae-min said. If the syndicate sees federal protection, they'll just wait us out. These people are patient. They'll wait 6 months, a year, however long it takes until we let our guard down. So what do you suggest? We use ourselves as bait, let them think they have an opening, draw them out, and take them down when they commit. That's insane, Park said. You're talking about intentionally making yourselves vulnerable to professional assassins. We're already vulnerable. At least this way we control the circumstances. The discussion went on for another hour, but eventually a plan took shape. They would verify the shipping information and prepare to intercept Volkov. Meanwhile, Naomi and Jae-min would maintain their normal routines, seemingly unaware of the threat, while actually surrounded by hidden protection. It was dangerous. It was risky. It was also the only way to end this. 6 days later, Ji-yoon burst into their office with her laptop. Found it. Container ship from Vancouver arrived at Long Beach 3 days ago. Manifest says industrial drilling equipment, but the weight distribution is all wrong. Something else is in there. Did you alert the FBI? Jae-min asked. Already done. Chen's getting a warrant now. They're going to search the container within the hour. The search yielded exactly what Jae-min's mother had predicted. Hidden among the legitimate drilling equipment were weapons, military-grade assault rifles, explosives, and surveillance equipment that made their earlier discoveries look like toys. And hidden in a false bottom was Alexander Volkov himself, attempting to enter the country illegally. His arrest made international news. Russian national caught smuggling weapons into the United States. The diplomatic implications were enormous, but for Naomi and Jae-min, it meant something more immediate. The 30-day threat was over, except it wasn't. Volkov's just one cell, Chen told him 2 days after the arrest. We've been interrogating him, and while he's not talking, our intelligence suggests the syndicate doesn't abandon operations just because one person is caught. If anything, they accelerate. Meaning what? Naomi asked. Meaning there are probably backup plans. Other assets already in position. Volkov might have been the architect, but someone else will execute. So we're still in danger. Possibly. We're working to identify anyone associated with Volkov, but the syndicate's cellular structure makes it difficult. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of the secure apartment where she and Jae-min had been staying, looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, someone might still be planning their deaths. Jae-min joined her, 2 mugs of tea in his hands. Thinking about running? Thinking about how tired I am of looking over my shoulder. Me too. He handed her a mug. But we've survived worse. Victor, my mother, the entire organization. We'll survive this too. Will we? Or will we spend the rest of our lives waiting for the other shoe to drop? That's not living. That's just slow dying. She turned to face him. Then what do we do? We live, actually live. We run our business, we help people, we build something good, and we trust that we're smart enough and strong enough to handle whatever comes. That's optimistic for you. I learned it from someone who spilled champagne on me and then knocked out my best fighter. If she can be brave, so can I. Naomi smiled despite everything. I wasn't brave. I was desperate. There's not much difference sometimes. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city lights. And slowly, Naomi felt something settle inside her. A decision, or maybe just acceptance. They couldn't control everything, couldn't predict every threat or prevent every danger. But they could choose how they lived in spite of it. They could choose not to kneel. The call came from Chen 3 days later. We found something. Volkov had an encrypted phone we didn't discover initially. Our techs finally cracked it. There were messages setting up a meeting tomorrow night at a warehouse in Vernon. We don't know who the other party is, but it might be whoever was supposed to help him with the contract. You want us there, Jae-min said. I want you nowhere near there, but we might need you to identify anyone we arrest, from a safe distance, obviously. The warehouse was abandoned, the kind of place where deals went bad and bodies disappeared. Chen's team set up surveillance in buildings nearby, watching through long-range cameras and microphones. Naomi and Jae-min were in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring the feeds with Min-ji. At exactly midnight, a figure appeared. Average height, dark clothing, face obscured. They walked to the center of the warehouse and waited. Can we get facial recognition? Chen's voice came through the comms. Negative. They're wearing a mask and the lighting is poor. The figure pulled out a phone and made a call. On the surveillance equipment, they heard it ring. And in the van, Jae-min's phone began to buzz. Everyone froze. The number calling him was unknown, but it was definitely ringing. He looked at Chen's people who gestured for him to answer. Hello? He said carefully. Hello, Jae-min. The voice was electronically distorted, impossible to identify. I'm disappointed. We had such a good meeting planned, and you brought federal agents. That's rude. Who is this? Someone who wants to make you an offer. The contract on you and Ms. Carter has been very expensive, and frankly problematic. Volkov's arrest has caused issues we didn't anticipate. So I'm proposing a different arrangement. I'm listening. You return what you took from us, $5 million, representing our investment in Victor's operation. And in exchange, the contract is voided. You live, we get our money back, everyone moves on. And if I refuse? Then the contract continues. We have patience. Eventually we'll succeed. It's just mathematics. Jae-min looked at Naomi, at Chen's team listening intently, at the figure standing in the warehouse who somehow knew they were watching. I'll need time to arrange that kind of transfer, he said. You have 48 hours. Wire instructions will be sent to this phone. And Jae-min, don't try to trace this call or follow me when I leave. I'll know. And Ms. Carter will pay the price. The call ended. In the warehouse, the figure walked out calmly, as if they hadn't just extorted $5 million. Go! Follow them, Chen ordered. But by the time her agents reached the warehouse floor, the figure was gone. No vehicle sounds, no footprints that led anywhere useful. Just gone. Back in the van, everyone was silent. Finally, Chen spoke. Thoughts? It's legitimate, Jae-min said. That voice modulation was sophisticated. They knew we were here. They knew about Volkov. This is really the syndicate. Do we pay? Naomi asked. Hell no, Chen said immediately. We don't negotiate with... With all respect, Agent Chen, they're not threatening you, they're threatening us. Jaemin's voice was hard. And $5 million is a lot less expensive than looking over our shoulders for the rest of our lives. If you pay, you're funding their operations. Other crimes, other victims. And if we don't, we're dead. I'm practical enough to choose life. The argument continued for another hour. Chen wanted to set up a sting operation using the wire transfer. Jaemin wanted to pay and be done with it. Naomi just wanted everyone to stop talking and let her think. Finally, she held up a hand. I have another idea. What if we give them the money, but we make sure they can never spend it? Everyone looked at her. What are you suggesting? Chen asked. David and Ji-yoon are tech geniuses. What if we transfer the money, but we tag it somehow? Make it so that every transaction can be traced, every account it touches gets flagged. We give them what they want, but we turn their payment into a tracking beacon. Chen's expression changed. That might actually work. We've been trying to map the syndicate's financial networks for years. If we could follow money through their system, we could identify accounts, shell companies, everyone they work with, Jaemin finished. It's not a sting. It's surveillance. Can your people actually do this? Chen asked. Give us 36 hours and we'll find out. David and Ji-yoon worked like demons. They consulted with FBI financial crimes specialists, with cryptocurrency experts, with anyone who understood how to tag money in a way that was invisible to the recipient but trackable to law enforcement. When the wire instructions came through, they were ready. $5 million transferred to an account in the Cayman Islands. On the surface, it looked clean. Underneath, it was riddled with tracking code that would follow every movement, every conversion, every new account it touched. It's done, David announced. The money is gone, but we can see everywhere it goes. For 3 days, they watched. The money split into smaller amounts, moved through accounts in a dozen countries, got converted between currencies. And with each movement, they mapped more of the syndicate's financial network. By the end of the week, the FBI had identified 47 previously unknown accounts, 16 shell companies, and 8 individuals suspected of working with the syndicate. This is the biggest intelligence coup we've had in 5 years, Chen said, looking at the data. You basically paid $5 million to expose their entire financial infrastructure. Worth every penny if it keeps us alive, Naomi said. About that. The contract appears to have been genuinely voided. We've been monitoring all the channels where these things get discussed. Your names haven't come up in over a week. I think they actually kept their word. They got paid, Jaemin said. Criminals are remarkably honest when they profit. It should have felt like victory. The syndicate had been exposed. Volkov was in custody. The contract was canceled. They were safe. But Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that something was unfinished. She visited Jaemin's mother one last time, alone, despite everyone's objections. Naomi Carter, the older woman said as she was brought into the visiting room. I didn't expect to see you again. Your information about Volkov was accurate. He's in custody. The syndicate has backed off. So you came to thank me? How touching. I came to ask you a question. When you called us, when you warned us about the threat, you said you refused to help them, that you wouldn't be responsible for your son's death. I did say that. Why? You've tried to kill us before. You've threatened everyone we care about. Why protect us now? The older woman was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, more genuine than Naomi had ever heard it. Because I'm tired of fighting, tired of scheming, tired of waking up in a cell knowing I'll die here. And because despite everything I've done, Jaemin is still my son. I created him, raised him, shaped him, and perhaps in some twisted way, I'm proud of what he's become. Even though he destroyed you? Especially because of that. He had the strength to break free from me, to build something better. That takes courage I never had. She looked directly at Naomi. You helped him do that. You gave him something worth fighting for besides power. So no, I couldn't let the syndicate kill you both. Not for their sake, but for mine. Some part of me that isn't completely dead needed to do one decent thing before I die in here. Naomi studied her, looking for the manipulation, the angle. But all she saw was a woman who'd lost everything and was trying, too late, to find some shred of redemption. "The FBI approved your transfer," Naomi said. "You're going to a facility in Germany. Maximum security, but better conditions than here." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank Jamin. He's the one who authorized it." As Naomi stood to leave, the older woman spoke again. "Take care of my son. He's stronger than I ever was, but that strength comes at a cost. Make sure he doesn't lose himself the way I did." "He won't, because he's not alone." Walking out of that prison for the last time, Naomi felt a weight lift that she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. The woman who'd ordered Marcus's death would spend the rest of her life in prison. The organization she'd built was dismantled. The syndicate that had threatened them was exposed and retreating. It was over. Really, truly over. 6 months later, Naomi stood in front of a cemetery headstone, fresh flowers in her hand. The morning was cool, fog rolling in from the ocean the way it did in Los Angeles, making the world feel soft and quiet. "Hey, Marcus," she said softly. "Sorry, it's been a while. Things got crazy again. But you'd be proud of how it turned out. The people who hurt you are gone. The system that failed you is a little bit better. And I'm still here, still fighting." She set the flowers down and stepped back, looking at his name carved in stone. "I met someone. Jamin. I know, probably not who you'd have picked for me. But he's good, Marcus. He's trying to be better than what he came from, just like us." The fog shifted, and for a moment Naomi could have sworn she felt something, a presence, a warmth, Marcus's approval maybe, or just her own imagination. "I miss you every day, but I'm okay now. We're okay. You can rest." A hand touched her shoulder. Jamin stood beside her, his own flowers in hand. "I thought I'd find you here," he said. "Did you want some time alone with him?" "Actually, I thought we could do this together." He knelt and placed his flowers next to hers. "Marcus Carter, I never met you, but I know you were a good man. Your sister is the strongest person I've ever known. Thank you for raising her to never kneel." They stood together in comfortable silence as the fog began to clear and sunlight broke through. "Ready?" Jamin asked. "For what?" "For whatever comes next. Work, life, the future. All of it." Naomi took his hand, feeling the calluses that matched her own. Two fighters who'd survived their separate wars and somehow found each other in the aftermath. "Yeah," she said. "I'm ready." They walked back to the car where Minji was waiting, the city spreading out before them like a promise. Los Angeles in the morning light, still dangerous, still beautiful, still home. Naomi Carter had come to this city as a waitress with a plan for revenge. She was leaving the cemetery as something else entirely. A woman who'd found justice, built a future, and learned that sometimes the best victories aren't the ones you fight for, but the ones you build afterward. The car pulled away, carrying them toward their office, where David and Ji-yoon were already working, toward clients who needed protection, toward a business they'd built from the ashes of an empire, toward a life that was finally, completely theirs. And somewhere in the morning light, if you knew where to look, you might see two shadows walking side by side, king and queen of nothing and everything, unbreakable and unstoppable, masters of their own fate at last. The city stretched before them, full of possibility. They drove into it without fear, without looking back. Finally free.